I'm Emily Carver. This is GB News, Britain's news channel.
Hello there, very good morning to you. Kamala Harris takes to the campaign trail
as she clinches enough delegates to earn her party's nomination.
Attention now turns to who she will pick as a running mate.
The Conservatives launch plans for a 3-month leadership contest to replace Rishi Sunak.
Prince Harry congratulates Birmingham as the city confirmed to host the Invictus Games in 3 years' time.
Are we raising a generation of woman haters? A disturbing new police report reveals the damning truth about online radicalisation.
A few showers around today, but actually plenty of sunshine in between the downpours. It's going to feel a bit warmer as well. I'll have the full forecast coming up very soon.
Just after 6 o'clock on this Tuesday morning. A very good morning to you. I'm Eamonn Holmes.
And I'm Ellie Costello, and this is GB News Breakfast.
We're just looking at the front pages of the papers today, and newspapers and programmes like ourselves are obsessed with politics. And we saw a story which hits hard today because it's a real life story and it's real tragedy.
No, it really, really is. We were telling you yesterday about a car crash between a Ford Focus and a motorcycle, and it turns out that an entire family have been wiped out, and just one girl, just 11 years old, has been orphaned. Her mum, her dad and her 2 sisters were killed in that crash.
And the story behind it, Ellie, is fascinating. So the mum, the dad and the sisters all gone in this crash, but one of the daughters, one of the sisters remained. Her name is Poppy. She was 11 years of age. Why was she not killed?
So the family went for a walk on Sunday. They're a family from Barnsley. Poppy, who's 11 years old, didn't want to go. She wanted to go to a friend's house instead. So she went to her friend's house and the family went on the walk, and that's where they got into that car crash.
On a rural road, 6 people killed. 6 people killed. And there it is. It's the headline in the Mirror today. She's lost her world. So the whole family, she's lost her world. And her whole family in that one. Which brings us on to, have you ever lost your world? And how do you pick yourself up from that? How can you pick yourself up from that? And if you were in that situation, could you? I mean, what will happen to that girl? Where will she go? Will she be adopted? Has she got other family?
So I believe that her uncle was speaking to the press this morning, saying that they were all, of course, rallying around her. Sounds like she's got a really close family. But you can't even imagine what she's going through. 11 years old, and you've lost your mum, your dad, and both of your sisters. An orphan.
Yeah.
Lost your siblings. I mean, it's your entire world, as you say. I don't even know how you begin to explain that to her. And she'll probably have survivor's guilt, won't she? She'll feel as though she shouldn't have gone to a friend's house.
So
just awful.
Have your say. This is how you do it. As per usual on the programme, just get in touch, gbnews.com/your say, and we will try and reflect your views and your stories throughout the programme this morning. Politics in America will dominate a lot of what we're doing today. Kamala Harris looks likely to become the Democratic Party's nominee as she raises a record $81 million in 24 hours. Well, I think it's unfair to say she's raised it. I think Joe Biden's raised it. I mean, what they're saying, $81 million in 2 days she's raised. I doubt that.
Well, let's speak now to foreign correspondent Sarah Firth, who can tell us a little bit more. Good morning to you, Sarah. So how does this work then? Is this donations for Kamala Harris, or did this already exist for Joe Biden?
No, the Harris HQ, as it's been renamed, has been claiming that that is the money that they've raised, a record-breaking amount of fundraising in the time since it was announced that Kamala Harris was going to be running for president. And we heard just a few short hours ago that she has now secured enough of the support from Democratic delegates to be the nominee for her party. So it's full steam ahead for Harris HQ. It's very interesting, actually, Eamonn and Ellie, today just outside the White House. I was speaking to people about what was happening, the events as they were unfolding. We'd yet to hear from Kamala Harris at that point, and a really mixed reaction. A lot of people saying they were disappointed in the fact that they obviously felt that they hadn't been given perhaps as much information as they needed about Biden, about his state, about his health. A lot of support, though, for Kamala Harris. A lot of people saying they feel invigorated, they feel excited. And amongst the Republican supporters that we were speaking to, they were still saying, look, okay, it might have been a curveball for the Republican Party, but they still think Trump is in it to win it. So there's, look, a lot of positive noises in these first early days since the announcement's been made. The big question here today on many Americans' lips is, where is Joe Biden? We have heard from the president today. He called in to Harris HQ. He spoke to Kamala Harris. It was very warm. It was very loving. Lots of touchy-feely words. People want to see him, though, after this major announcement that he's stepping down from the re-election bid. We haven't seen him since. So that's the big question on everyone's lips at the moment. Yeah. The White House have confirmed that we're expecting him to be back in D.C. tomorrow, but we'll keep you posted on that.
Well, I do have to say, I know a lot of people who've got COVID yet again, and it's really bad.
Oh, really?
This time around, yeah.
But
there's good news and bad news for Kamala Harris, Sarah. The good news is her popularity rating is the same as President Biden's. I was hearing on the radio today. That's the good news. The bad news is he's got rubbish popularity ratings anyway. So they're both in the same boat. She, according to what I heard today, is just not popular.
Yeah, and Eamonn, look, you know, we discussed yesterday with you and Ellie in the wake of this, just shockwaves of news throughout the American public about the fact that, you know, the initial response from a lot in the Democratic Party has been this line that Biden's some sort of hero for finally doing the right thing and putting the American people first. But the reality is it doesn't give Kamala Harris that much time to be getting out onto the campaign trail, to be getting her message across. Now, we did hear from her today. She laid out some of her credentials. She was speaking about her work as a prosecutor, as an attorney general in the US. Now, we know that she has got this very tough stance, this very tough image. She's got a very impressive track record with her legal career. It's thought that's going to really be something, sort of messaging that she tries to put across on the campaign trail. She said something along the lines of, you know, I know guys like Donald Trump. So that's really where she's positioning herself. But Eamonn, you're absolutely right. There is a lot of people out there who are questioning this decision so late in the day, already feeling let down by the Democratic Party, by the White House and the party around the president. And remember, Kamala Harris was in that inner circle. She's the vice president. So all these questions about why didn't the American public know sooner the state of Biden's health and his ability to run for the next 4 years? Why weren't people informed of this? Kamala Harris has a lot of accountability there that she has to answer to as well.
I mean, Robert F. Kennedy Jr. has said exactly that. He's described Kamala Harris as the concealer-in-chief of Biden's frailties. He says that she's to blame for that. Do you think that's something that she can shake off? I was reading some commentary in the papers over here this morning, Sarah, and some suggestion that she should actually be made president now, that Biden should step down, and then in that way she proves herself, she earns herself.
That she can actually do the job.
That she can do the job.
Yes, Ellie, spot on. I mean, that's the discussion here at the moment in Washington. Is that going to be the next step in this very chaotic sequence of events? The Republican Party, in particular, and very loud voices amongst the Republicans saying, look, if the president isn't fit to run for the next 4 years, he's ill at the moment with COVID. The White House is saying he's recovering. He'll be back in the White House soon. He's still fit to run. But the question is, well, if you're not fit to run for the next 4 years, are you fit to run now, given everything that the American public has seen over the past few weeks, from the debate onwards, getting President Zelensky's name wrong at the NATO summit, calling him President Putin, gaffes like that, with his frailty, with the sickness, with all these rumors that have been going around. And now, frankly, with the fact that given this major announcement that was released on X, it was released in a statement, we haven't actually seen Joe Biden step forward and speak to the American public. And so with all of that uncertainty around, you are absolutely right. The questions are very much about whether there is further chaos ahead, whether we're going to maybe see him stepping aside sooner and Kamala Harris stepping up to the plate earlier. But there are going to be some more twists and turns in this tale, that's for sure.
Yeah. Sarah, a story that we're covering this morning in our headlines is misogyny, and this report into misogyny and how these influencers online can influence so many men into dismissing women, not taking women seriously, and worse, much worse than that. But, Donald Trump could hardly be held up as a banner fighting for womanhood around the world, and you see these Kamala Harris stories coming out and whatever, and I begin to worry: are we being unduly influenced again into she's just a woman?
What do you make of it, Sarah?
I mean, listen, she's a tough cookie. She's going to be gearing up for a very, very tough campaign ahead of her if she is the nominee for the party. We've got to wait to the Democratic National Convention. That's in just a couple of weeks in Chicago. We're going to see what plays out there. I mean, it has, as I said, been a very, very turbulent sequence of events. She's strong. You hear her speaking. She's on brand. She's on message, as we said. She's got that background as a prosecutor and attorney general. But you're right, guys. Look, there's a lot of debate right now, and there's a lot of headlines, and there's a lot of messaging coming from the Democratic Party that everyone's rallying around Kamala Harris. But, get out on the streets and speak to the American people. There's a lot of concern here, too, amongst the American people, a bit of anger as well, and a lot of confusion. And as I said, that hasn't really been cleared up by the fact we haven't heard a statement from Joe Biden in person on camera yet since he made this major announcement. And it's still not clear, a couple of weeks until we know whether she will be the one the party has chosen to run for president. And then just less than 100 days, I think, until the actual election. Not much time at all.
Yeah.
Well, interesting stuff, fascinating stuff, Sarah. Really appreciate your take on things this morning. Thank you for your time and analysis. Thank you. Sarah Firth there.
Well, really interesting, actually. Kamala Harris, in her speech to her staff yesterday, was making the same point that you just made, talking about Donald Trump and the difference between what she cares about and what he cares about, laying out her case, if you like. She's pointing to her time as district attorney. She says she took on perpetrators of all kinds, predators who abused women, fraudsters who ripped off consumers, cheaters who broke the rules for their own game. And she says, so hear me when I say I know Donald Trump's type.
Do you know Donald Trump's type? Let us know if you do, or what you think of the scenario, or how good a president you think Kamala Harris would make. There's the address. That's how you get in touch, /your say. The new Conservative Party leader will be announced on the 2nd of November, with nominations open for tomorrow.
Well, Rishi Sunak will remain leader until then. That's despite leading the Conservatives through their worst defeat ever in the election earlier this month.
Let's go to our political correspondent, Catherine Forster, on this one. Catherine, tell us more.
Yes, good morning, Eamonn and Ellie. So we have nearly 4 months to wait till we know who is going to lead officially the opposition and the Conservative Party as it reforms and rebuilds itself after this horrendous defeat, now down to just 121 MPs. So the former Prime Minister Rishi Sunak stood down as leader of the Conservative Party officially yesterday. He is now acting leader, and in terms of his replacement, nominations will open tomorrow. To stand for the leadership, you'll need to have the support of 10 MPs. Nominations will close next Monday afternoon. And then during the summer, whoever has put themselves forward and has that level of support will be free to go around the country touting their wares, trying to sell themselves as future Conservative leader. When Parliament comes back in September, MPs will then whittle them down to a total of 4. They will all troop off to the Conservative Party conference at the end of September. We'll have like a sort of beauty parade, if you like, of those candidates. MPs will get them down to the final 2. And then at that point, the Conservative members, who are traditionally to the right of Conservative MPs, will have the say to pick the final leader, announced on November the 2nd. So a very, very long way to go. Just looking at some of those faces on screen, no one has declared yet officially, but we are likely to have potentially former Home Secretary Suella Braverman, Priti Patel, former Immigration Minister Robert Jenrick, Shadow Business Secretary Kemi Badenoch, Shadow Security Minister Tom Tugendhat, possibly more. So we've got months of this to look forward to, if look forward to is the right phrase.
Well, we're licking our lips already. Thank you very much, Catherine. Appreciate it.
Thank you.
Some other stories coming into the newsroom on this Tuesday morning. Cases of violence against women and girls have risen by a staggering 40% since 2018.
That's according to a report by the National Police Chiefs Council. It comes as a senior police officer has warned that a rise in women hating is partially down to the influence of internet personalities, such as controversial YouTuber Andrew Tate.
Biologists have discovered traces of cocaine in sharks off the coast of Brazil. They said the substance could be making the predators more aggressive. Scientists have warned the sharks have likely ingested the drug after traces seeped into the water from illegal labs.
And the BBC's head of entertainment is allegedly fighting for her job following the controversies surrounding Strictly Come Dancing. The reports come just hours after Strictly Pro Jeanette Manrara denied accusations that her training left Paralympian Will Bailey with a lifelong injury.
Do you know, the one thing I noticed about this morning was that it was dark. It was darker than usual. You can feel
dark.
it. Yes, you feel it is creeping back into winter.
Don't say that, not yet.
We haven't even had summer
No,
yet.
we haven't even had summer.
Are we going to have it today? Let's go to Aidan McGivern.
A brighter outlook with Box Solar, sponsors of weather on GB News.
Hello, a very good morning to you. Welcome to the latest forecast from the Met Office for GB News. Still some showers around today, but in between the showers there'll be a bit more sunshine compared with yesterday, and as a result it will feel a little warmer as well. Certainly a sunny start for Western Scotland, Northern Ireland, North West England, North Wales. Elsewhere, some cloud, some showers already from the word go. There'll be a few more developing through the morning and early afternoon. The odd sharp downpour. Otherwise, not everyone will see a shower. Away from them, with the sunshine feeling pleasant, with highs of 23 to 25 in the south, 18 to 22 further north. Then later in the day, the showers will tend to fade away. We're going to see a ridge of higher pressure build from the southwest, and that will allow plenty of evening sunshine across southern and southwestern parts of the UK. Temperatures during 5-6 p.m. up into the high teens, low 20s, feeling very pleasant out there, and most of the showers by this stage easing away. So for the vast majority, it is a fine end to the day. Western Scotland looking beautiful actually at this stage, with highs of 15 to 18 Celsius. And we'll see clearing skies develop more widely overnight, although there will still be some patchy cloud, particularly for Northern Ireland, Western Scotland, for example. The vast majority will stay dry overnight, however, and whether you've got the clear spells or the cloud, well, it's going to be a relatively mild night with temperatures in the mid-teens in the south, 11 to 13 further north. So we start Wednesday with plenty of dry and bright weather, long spells of sunshine for many central, southern and eastern parts of the UK. I think there'll be some showers pushing into western Scotland for a time, and there'll also be some showers developing across eastern parts of England, some heavy downpours by the afternoon here, but for many it will stay dry, and where we get the sunshine, warm once again, 25 or 26 Celsius. Make the most of it because Thursday sees more rain arrive.
That warm feeling inside from Boxed Boilers, sponsors of weather on GB News.
Just before we go anywhere, it suddenly dawned on me, the Great British Giveaway. We haven't given it away yet.
Oh, no, we haven't given it away.
Yeah.
And there's lots to give away. £30,000, in fact, in the Great British Giveaway, our biggest cash prize of the year. So do have a little think. What would you do with all of that extra cash? I'd go on holiday. You'd put it in a savings account and be sensible.
No, well, I wouldn't. I actually wouldn't. I'd put it towards a car that I'd want.
Oh, would you?
Yeah, and that's how I've wasted all my money all my life. Pay a lot of money for a car and then it loses, it depreciates, or I end up in a wheelchair as I am now and I can't drive.
Oh.
Yeah, so it's a complete waste of time.
Unless you get a driverless car and you just sit in the back, relax.
Yeah, but that's...
I shouldn't be encouraging you anyway. But anyway, we can't win it, but you can, and here's how.
Don't miss your chance to win our Super Summer Giveaway. With your chance to win £30,000 cash, our biggest cash prize to date. Which means you get to spend every single penny however you like. What plans would you make with an extra £30,000 cash in your bank account? Take your family on the ultimate holiday, buy that treat that's always seemed out of reach, or just put it in the bank for a later date. However you'd spend it, make sure you don't miss out. For another chance to win £30,000 in tax-free cash, text cash to 63232. Text costs £2 plus one standard network rate message. You can enter online at gbnews.com/win. Entries cost £2. Or post your name and number to GB07 PO Box 8690 Derby DE1 9TT. UK only. Entrants must be 18 or over. Lines close at 5 p.m. on the 30th of August. Please check the closing time if listening or watching on demand. Good luck.
And with that, we go to the commercial break.
We do, and after that, Kinsey Schofield is going to be here to tell us about Meghan Markle and her very close relationship with Kamala Harris.
Well, that's the kiss of death, isn't it?
Well, let's see.
That'll rule her out as president.
Are we going to see an endorsement? That's the question we're going to be asking
I
next.
bet you Camilla hopes not. What do you think? Let us know back after this.
If you want your news to be straight talking,
This is a nightmare for the Conservatives again.
down to earth,
It's not just Nottingham where this is happening, is it?
and most importantly, honest,
Hard-working, middle-class taxpayers, they'll get their book thrown at them.
then catch me, Martin Daubney, Monday to Friday, 3 till 6 p.m. on GB News, Britain's news channel.
Join me, Nana Akwe, for an informative, interactive news programme with a difference. It's fun.
It's true. You're not wrong. No one will be cancelled.
Lovely. Join me from 3 p.m. every weekend, only on GB News, Britain's news channel.
This is GB News, Britain's news channel.
And this week, it's disabled adventurer Nick Wilson and rock engineering director Elliot Dason-Barber from the Institution of Engineering and Technology.
Yes, earlier this month, Nick Wilson summited Mount Snowdon unaided. The first time this has been attempted with the help of an engineered electric mobility chair called the Rock Climber.
Tell us what you did, when you did it, and why it's so amazing, because it's the first time this has been done, isn't it?
You feel lazy, you should try being me, going up a mountain and I was just pressing the accelerator. these poor buggers had to go and come up behind me. It still hasn't sunk in properly, you know, and to be the first disabled person to do it during Disability Pride Month is... I couldn't have asked for anything else. But it's all possible because of Rock Engineering. You know, they've been working on this for the past 2 years to create this machine. I wouldn't be here because I was struggling a lot with loneliness and isolation. I was very suicidal, and they literally saved my life with this project.
The whole thing came around by accident, you know, meeting Nick, and he kind of highlighted some issues to us in terms of his accessibility, and he you know, he lives in Towcester, near where we're based, and he came down the high street and sort of said, I can't even get into the shops in the high street.
So, Nick, you just mentioned that the kind of place you were in before doing this, you were lonely, suicidal. Yeah. What was it like when you finally managed to scale Snowdon? Because I've done it on foot, and just being for anyone, being in nature and fresh air.
The one word that I think I've used throughout this is freeing. It is when you're so reliant on drop curves. It's freeing that you're not reliant on a hard-standing path or drop curves, wherever. You can, in rock climb, you can literally go anywhere you want. Yeah. And freeing is the big word, and it's amazing.
The People's Channel.
Join me, Neil Oliver, every Sunday night at 6 p.m. on GB News. And if an hour is not nearly enough for you, go to gbnews.com for special extended episodes online every Friday at 9 p.m, where we can truly get into the nitty-gritty of what's going on. GB News, Britain's news channel.
Right, we're going to talk to Kinsey Schofield now. Let's go live to America, and we're going to talk about the Invictus Games, Kinsey, and they're going to Birmingham and whatever. But the real thing is Meghan Markle, right? Meghan Markle is threatening to support Kamala Harris, and I reckon that would be the kiss of death for her bid as a president.
Well, look, Meghan has a friendly relationship with Kamala Harris. I firmly believe that Meghan Markle will endorse Kamala Harris for president. This story is circulating because Newsweek actually took a poll asking how many people would be influenced by a potential endorsement from the Duke and Duchess of Sussex. 40% said they would be influenced. 21 said they would vote for someone Harry and Meghan suggested. And then 20 said that they would not vote for who Harry and Meghan suggested. I think that Meghan wants to be involved. Meghan wants to be included. This is potentially a very historic election. We really saw Meghan involved, including with Kamala Harris, some voter campaigns in 2020. And I think this is a great way for Meghan Markle to get her foot in the door. Her father, Thomas Markle, has said that she's always had political aspirations. And what better way than to be somehow involved, inserting your name in the headline with a presidential campaign like this?
Do you get the vibes, do you get the sense that she is a political animal?
I don't feel like she has tough enough skin, but I do believe that this is important to her. During that speech for the UN, she talked about writing First Lady Hillary Clinton. We saw her in 2020 work with Stacey Abrams, Hillary Clinton, Kamala Harris, and Michelle Obama to do campaigns for women voting, getting women to the polls. And then we also saw Prince Harry and Meghan Markle during the Time 100 event on ABC say it was time for change, and Americans deserved change during 2020, which was a very subtle endorsement of Joe Biden at the time, not a blatant one, but a subtle endorsement for the Biden campaign.
Yeah, because if we do see an endorsement of Kamala Harris now by Meghan Markle, it will be the first time officially that there's been an endorsement from Prince Harry and Meghan Markle, right? So do you think this could be the start of a political career, perhaps, for Meghan? We've been talking about it for years, haven't we? Whispers of wanting to go into politics, but this could be the start.
I absolutely think that you're right. This could be her first step in the door. And I think that Kamala would welcome it, because all press is good press at this point. I just heard one of your correspondents say we've got 100 days until the election. Well, you've got to do what you got to do. You've got to get your name in front of all the donors, and you have to get people excited about you. And sometimes that's throwing everybody a curveball like Meghan Markle. And we saw some of her activity 75 days out of the 2020 election. So perhaps we might have to wait a few weeks. But she talked about how divisive Donald Trump was in late night interviews before she married Prince Harry. She has been outspoken about disliking Donald Trump, and I think she'd want to be a part of a very potentially historic presidential campaign.
Now, she's going to be part of an historic occasion for Birmingham as they host the Invictus Games in 3 years' time from now. How big a deal is that?
Well, you know, you guys won. It was Washington, D.C. that they were potentially going to hold these games in. So perhaps Prince Harry's homesick. Perhaps he wants to spend a little more time with Eamonn Holmes. But they aren't going to be holding it in Washington, D.C. They're actually going to be holding it in Birmingham. And I think that this is such a great opportunity for the Invictus Games to get back. 2027, you're going to see Prince Harry, Meghan Markle, and all of these amazing veterans that have really I think my favorite part is the veterans, all of the courage, all of the competition. It is such a unique element, and it's a wonderful effort by Prince Harry.
And it matters so much to Prince Harry now, doesn't it, Kinsey? I mean, it's one of the only things that he has left professionally.
I agree with you, and I think that is why he was so devastated by the negative reaction to the Pat Tillman Award, because to him, it was a reflection of this one thing that he's so in love with. So to have that negative reaction stung deeply.
Well, Ellie Costello is scouting Birmingham out tomorrow. She's going to Birmingham and basically to see the facilities. Birmingham's held a lot of big events.
It has,
before.
yeah. It's got the NEC, hasn't it?
Yeah, and all the track and field facilities that are available for this sort of thing. So it doesn't come as a surprise, I suppose, that Birmingham itself is equipped to host all of this. But just remind people, Kinsey, of where the contestants come from around the world.
They're all over the world. I mean, I believe that Prince Harry says they've helped hundreds of thousands of individuals. And look, I mean, we're all very critical of Prince Harry and Meghan Markle, but at the end of the day, if this is his legacy, what an incredible legacy, because people wait. This is like their Christmas for some of these vets. They train all year long. They're excited to get together with their family members, this community. They compete against one another, but it's joy-filled, it's love-filled, and then they wait and they get ready to compete all over again the next time. We've got the Winter Games coming up. So obviously the Invictus Games, that's happening in Canada. Obviously things are growing for Prince Harry. He did just lose an employee, so hopefully he quickly will, I believe it was the CEO, hopefully he quickly will replace that individual. But, you know, this is hopefully his legacy, and it's not some of the messy family stuff.
And do you think that we'll see Meghan Markle make an appearance at these games in Birmingham? Because there's been reports, hasn't there, that she never wants to step foot in this country again.
Well, that's such a good point. Perhaps time heals all wounds. We've got a couple of years for her to settle down, but that's a very good point that you make. There will be a question mark surrounding that based on the fact that she has not been there since the Queen's funeral, and she did not seem to be very pleased throughout that process.
Okay.
Watch this space.
Watch this space, Kinsey. Thank you very much indeed. Appreciate your time. Thank you very much. Thanks. Well, we've got the... well, you are going to Birmingham, aren't you?
I am going to Birmingham, yeah, so I'll let you know how it is. Not very happy, are you? Because I'm not here tomorrow.
I'm very happy.
Can I say who is here?
You can say who's here.
Anne Diamond.
I'm very happy. Why wouldn't I be happy?
I'm very happy that it's you and Anne, because you know how I feel about that combination. And I know you liked it as well. It's the legends together.
So Anne and I presented on Sunday, and there was very good reaction to it. And then Miss Ellie was off doing something tomorrow in Birmingham, and Anne said she would come in. So
how lovely.
We've got that to look forward to tomorrow. Hope you join us for that. You can look forward to Alex Armstrong and Nikki Hodgson. They're going to talk and debate and argue about the biggest stories of the morning next here on GB News.
The latest GB News travel.
Good morning, I'm Russell Holding. In the Highland, the A949 is closed each way between Spinningdale and Bonner Bridge after an accident yesterday afternoon. On the M1 in West Yorkshire, there's a lane closed southbound. Someone's broken down between junctions 40 and 39 near Wakefield. In South Yorkshire, the A61 is closed each way along Barnsley Road at Mapplewell after an accident on Sunday afternoon. In Greater Manchester, the A676 remains closed along Deansgate in Bolton after a fire. In Staffordshire, on the A50, the westbound exit at Norman Cross is closed because of a shed load. In West Midlands, the A41 remains closed southbound along Soho Hill at Lozells for an investigation. In London, a number of roads in the city are closed for the Great City Run, and in Wiltshire, the A350 is closed along West End in Westbury after an accident. That's the latest.
You can stay up to date throughout the day by visiting our website, gbnews.com.
Good afternoon, Britain.
Your lunchtime update on the stories that matter across the UK.
From breaking news and insightful analysis, inspiring stories and lively debates.
You're comparing yourself to a former Prime Minister.
Which is it? Stay informed, stay updated, stay entertained.
I just don't know how anyone would not want to be there.
Every weekday from midday.
We are Good Afternoon Britain, only on GB News.
Britain's news channel.
Hi there, I'm Michelle Dewberry, and I'm going to take a second to tell you all about my show, Dubes & Co. We start off with the issues of the day. We then bring in both sides of the arguments. We get rid of the disrespect. And then you throw me into the mix. And trust me, I'll tell it exactly how it is. And then, of course, the magic ingredient, you at home. We mix it all together, and what have we got? In my opinion, the best debate show in town. Monday to Friday, 6 till 7 on GB News, Britain's news channel.
Tune in to Friday Night Live with me, Mark Dolan. GB News royalty with your perfect start to the weekend. Lucky us. Feisty and fearless guests.
Well, I'm a normal person, so ask me.
Honest opinions that raises more questions than a Gary Barlow tax return. And a few surprises along the way. Might be cold in this studio. That is Friday Night Live with me, Mark Dolan. 8 to 9, only on GB News, the People's Channel, Britain's news channel.
Join me, Camilla Tominey, for a frank and honest discussion with those in power that cuts through the spin and gets to the heart of the issues shaping our nation.
You haven't confirmed that you want to stand as leader, but you haven't ruled it out either.
This report basically says that he's not fit to stand trial. Is he indecisive? Incompetent? I deliver the dose of reality Westminster needs. That's the Camilla Tominey Show at 9:30 every Sunday on GB News, the People's Channel, Britain's news channel.
Look at the front pages of the papers on this Tuesday morning. The Daily Express, first of all, on mornings. Labour could open the door to 70,000 asylum seekers. We're going to be talking about that throughout the programme today.
The Telegraph looks to the US as Kamala Harris looks to find a running mate.
Times, you'll see her on this and a few other newspapers as well. As money pours in for her campaign, they're talking about $80 million there so far.
The Express leads with Nigel Farage warning that more Tory MPs could defect to reform.
Mirror, that terrible story, tragic story of 11-year-old Poppy, who is now orphaned after her family died in a car crash over the weekend.
Well, joining us now to go through the papers is author and commentator Nikki Hodgson and political commentator Alex Armstrong. Very good morning to you both.
Morning.
Morning.
Nikki, should we start with Kamala Harris on the front page of many of the papers this morning?
Oh, this has got me so excited. I feel that the energy is high now for Kamala. It's kind of, I'm actually quite impressed how the press has sort of erupted in her favour in sort of the past 48 hours.
It's a bit of a 180, really, because she hasn't been applauded as VP.
No, absolutely. And I was actually talking about this at the weekend here, saying, you know, what has that been about that the media has kind of not paid her attention because they've been so hung up on the Biden versus Trump ongoing argument. But yeah, she's really kind of stepped up into the role. You've got loads of people coming out for her. Beyonce is giving her clearance to use her song Freedom for her campaign. You know, 138 million is the total amount of donations raised for the Democrats, 80 million in just, you know, a few hours. Well, 48 hours, I think it is.
Yeah, right.
And crucially, the other Democratic Party people that need to come out and give her their backing have come out and done it. I think she needed 1,900 and something votes for backing, and she's way over 2,000 now. So
now, what is it that excites you about all of this? I mean, I agree with you. I think the dynamic is different and it's kicked in, and there's some sort of energy about this now.
Yeah.
But is it the fact that she's a woman? Is it the fact that she's a woman of an ethnic background? Or is it the fact that she is very capable and competent?
Well, it's the fact she can take Donald Trump on. You know, she doesn't care. Well, Donald Trump relies on women thinking that, you know, they care about him caring about them. What I mean is he wants her to think, oh, I'm not attractive, I'm not appealing to you, so therefore you're going to think less of me. That doesn't make any difference to Kamala Harris whatsoever. What she has is the absolute golden ticket that, you know, she is a legal person. She's a person that understands the law inside out. She represents everything that his lawlessness does not. You know, he's convicted of fraud now. You know, he has been tried in a civil court and paid damages to somebody for rape. He is a felon. And she's the opposite. She's a prosecutor. She's a person that has the brain power and also the confidence and the kind of devil-may-care to stand up to him.
His own record is disrespecting women. I mean, all the quotes that he have and how he sees women.
Absolutely, but he relies on women thinking, oh, I don't want you to think I'm unattractive, so therefore I'll put up with your misogyny. She's past all that. She doesn't care. But also her age is a big advantage. 59, she's like in the prime of her life. You know, intellectually, she's got all her faculties.
Yeah, that's the big 180, though, isn't it? Because we had all the Democrats, you know, trying to avoid talking about Biden's age. It doesn't matter, it doesn't matter. And now, obviously, everyone's like, Trump's old. And
that's great, and that's exactly what they needed to do.
That's exactly what they needed to do.
And
Absolutely.
You know, the conversation now about her running mate, if she picks, you know, for VP someone like Josh Shapiro, well, he's 49, you know, and kind of running Chicago beautifully. And then you've got two people, you know, under 60 running the White House. Oh, my gosh, that's so powerful and exciting and intoxicating.
I think she's invigorated the Democrats because for so long they've had Biden who just couldn't speak without a gaffe. The thing that worries me about Kamala Harris is she's famous for her word salads. It's just saying things nonsense for a few minutes. I mean, there's lots of clips of her doing, and I think she's got to be very careful on the campaign that she doesn't repeat those mistakes because she'll end up looking like a female Joe Biden.
She needs to be focused.
She needs to be focused.
It's quite obvious to me that when she doesn't prep like all of us, she gets into a pickle.
Absolutely.
But when she does prep, she's on fire.
I will say that the only thing that you know, she hasn't got exactly the cleanest record. I mean, she'd have a terrible civil rights record. She's been criticised quite heavily on the American right for this schools to prison programme, basically, where she was instructed by a High Court judge to release 5,000 prisoners and refused to do so. Just a small petty crimes, basically. So she has come under some criticism in the past, and it would be more interesting now because she has avoided the limelight to see whether her record holds up as sterling as the Democrats would like it to.
But just a point on that, you know, her civil rights record overall is kind of, you know, flawless. Her parents were civil rights activists, and she spent most of her career campaigning against racism in different forms. So, yeah,
there's
it's exciting.
Some reports, I think that was in the Daily Mail this morning, a column saying that Kamala Harris should actually become president now, that Biden should step down. He's not fit to run as president and in January. Then he should step down now, and then that way she earns her role.
Yeah. Well, and people get used to seeing her in the role because there still is this fear, I think, amongst Americans of voting a woman in. I still think they've got a real block about that.
Well, they've never done it before, have they?
No.
But
and a woman of colour as well. So
how can he say he's not standing as candidate for whatever reason, most likely because of his age and his ability to deliver the role and not be fit, basically, to be president, but continue in his duties? There's a very mixed message that we're receiving from the Americans on that one. And I think you're right, Ellie. She should take over at this point because clearly, I mean, the man hasn't been seen for days now, so he's obviously not very well. I feel terribly sorry for him. I really do.
She would only need to be in that post a few weeks, do anything reasonable, look kind of imperious, and then her chances, I think, of being voted in would be much higher.
Is it a risk, though, that it gives her the space to mess up in that time?
Also, and that's probably the thing that they don't want to do, right? Because it's kind of, you know, what was happening here with the Tories and Labour. Keir Starmer's position was just do nothing and win. And that might be the same tactic that's been
importantly, she isn't the actual candidate yet. So while she has received delegates, she's not the candidate, and there's going to be an open process. And people like Obama haven't endorsed her, which says to me that there's people out there who think there might be a third party that comes along all of a sudden and takes over.
Michelle Obama?
I put my money on her at the moment. Yeah.
Yeah, she's the front of one of the papers this morning.
She's a wild card.
That a woman
unless she needs a big packet of cash behind her.
Oh, Obama's can raise money overnight. They can raise money overnight.
There's a woman who predicts the future by reading asparagus. There it is.
Oh, is that what?
Asparagus psychic. There she is there. And she predicts that Michelle Obama will be the next President of the USA.
I'm going to have to figure out what her methods are so I can get my political commentary.
I can get your lottery numbers in.
I've interviewed Hillary Clinton a number of times and I've been in her company personally. and a more impressive person. I just sort of think if Hillary Clinton's not president and people couldn't see that she should have been president, and I know there's all sorts of complications and you know, to do with her husband, who incidentally was the most impressive politician I've ever met.
Interesting.
Bill Clinton, charisma, everything. Yeah. But I think if Hillary Clinton can't be President of the United States, then there mightn't be hope for a lot of women. And getting back to that misogynist claim that you had there. And it's hard to think in this day and age, there are actually people who, whether consciously or subconsciously, would think, she's a woman.
Yeah.
Yeah, but you talk to Trump campaigners and there's many of them. So,
that's true.
You know,
That's really true.
Terrifying.
It's a shame, but I do feel like that's changing. And by all polls, Michelle Obama, if she were to be the candidate, would trash Trump, like by every single margin.
But she apparently is not keen on it herself.
They all say that, don't they? They all say that.
I think she just wants to wait one more term, personally. I
Maybe.
think she's just playing a slightly longer game.
Maybe. We'll see.
Let's get back to British politics. Nigel Farage, the Conservatives are facing the leadership change in November. So and Farage is saying, well, basically don't bother because there's a whole lot of you going to defect to his Reform Party sooner rather than later, Alex.
Well, he makes the argument that had more of them defected, particularly in the red wall seats where the Tories have now been completely wiped out, that they would have survived, they would have kept their seats, and he uses Lee Anderson as a perfect example of that. And I think there may be something to say about that, considering that Reform came second in many of those seats, and having had that Tory vote as well, they might have pushed them over the line. So I think that's what he's alluding to here. This is going to be a really interesting build-up over the next 5 years to see whether Reform can professionalise. There's a lot of infighting in the moment in the party, in Reform. We've obviously had Ben Habib quite recently come out against the party. He's been sort of sidelined by Farage. Whether that's right or wrong, we're yet to be seen. So the biggest problem with Reform is whether Nigel Farage himself can share the limelight and whether he can get other people...
Yes.
It's true.
No, it is true, because if you take someone like Suella Braverman, who's been courted and linked with the party and whatever it is, say someone of that calibre, that name, that status, did defect. You're right. It would put Farage in an interesting position.
Well, you've also got big charismatic people like Lee Anderson in the party. Yes. You've got Richard Tice, another one. These are all people with very big voices who want to be heard. So you've got all these big hitters in one small party. Can they keep it together? And if they can, they might really put up a challenge to the Tories, who might not get their act together in the next 4 years, frankly. So, I mean, it's going to be really interesting. And Farage is saying, look, we're building momentum. We've just got 70,000 members, which is almost double what they had for UKIP. And that's quite impressive in such a short period of time. So yet to be seen, but a lot to play for.
Yeah, my personal theory is that Farage is going to try and take a lead of the Tories, and then Suella Braverman will become leader of Reform.
Interesting. Interesting.
Few chess moves
I
ahead,
don't think the Tories will ever have Nigel Farage, particularly as they are today. They're far more left-leaning now than they were prior to the election.
And they seem to want to be as well. That seems to be the plan.
That does seem to be the plan. And depending on who they pick, I think they will find someone slightly more left-leaning, centrist, which they'll say, no thanks, you know, we don't want you. Particularly if Suella goes, they won't want her coming back in again,
she won't be able to go after her.
Nikki, let's talk about morals and principles. Here we go to the Times on their page 2 today.
Yes.
20% of people, 1 in 5 people, can now be classed as having low integrity.
Oh.
That's
It's not good.
It's quite
is it?
shocking, isn't
It's
it?
not good, but it just shows you people, morals and principles don't seem to matter.
They've gone out the window.
Them. But we're supposed to be in an age where people are kinder to each other and all this.
Be kind.
Hashtag be kind.
Hashtag be kind. I always remember that coming from a TV station which preached it all the time. I never practiced it, but that's a whole other story.
Yes, they're talking about how fraud is on the rise and theft. Obviously, we talk endlessly about shoplifting and the fact that seems to just be kind of, I don't know, legalised now almost, or decriminalised perhaps is a better way of putting it. Tax evasions benefit fraud is likely to rise by 5%. But you know what? I blame this all on Boris Johnson, because if he hadn't had such low standards in office, I don't think everybody else would have thought it was all right to kind of cheat the system either.
I think you're absolutely right. I think if you're in a position of power and privilege, you've got to lead by example.
Yes, absolutely. You set the tone for the nation, and he set the tone by showing he was a serial liar, lying to the Queen, lying to Parliament, lying about whatever it took to, you know, keep his job. And I think it's had an effect on the national psyche.
We definitely need to raise the bar in politics. And, Keir Starmer has very, very strongly, prior to the election, said we need to clean up politics. Famously, he said, we've got to clean up politics, wrongdoing must be punished. But we have had Tulip Siddiqui, the Treasury Minister, over the weekend be charged with breaching parliamentary standards, and he's done nothing about it. So
it's only Tuesday.
Well, I know, but there's enough time once you've breached to say, right, you're out. I mean, if he's drawn a red line, we've got to hold our politicians to the same standard, no matter what party they're in. And I think that's where the bar has to be raised generally. So if you say I have zero tolerance for this stuff, you have to have zero tolerance.
Because that's setting an example. I mean, we're not talking about politicians in this report. We're talking about people in general.
Yeah.
But Nikki's point being that if you get someone like Boris Johnson and he sets the line. For
100% agree with Nikki.
Yeah.
Boris Johnson, he's made more dubious things than most politicians
would do. A lot
would
of people don't equate to that. They don't relate to it, and they see people like me or Nikki who would be highlighting this as in some way treacherous.
Sure.
Yeah, about all
they
this.
feel that
and they can't see the fact that these people are liars and mislead people.
But you know what it is, Eamonn? People see characters like Boris Johnson in a different league, and they give them a lot of leeway and feel like, oh, he's taken down by the media. They actually feel like the scrutiny of Boris is unfair, and that's the real difference there. They go, okay, they read what they see online. They go, is that fair about Boris Johnson? Are you treating him differently to other politicians? And that's the message that people like Boris put out, even if it's not true.
But also, he's just been so damaging for democracy, because so many people I talk to now say, oh, all politicians are liars. I wouldn't vote anymore. I didn't vote last time. I've had enough.
Yeah.
And he's directly responsible for that, in my opinion.
I want to talk about something with a bad smell here. A bad smell about it. We're talking about it there. And this is serious.
Yeah, it is very serious. I know which one you're about to talk about, yeah.
So this is about people in general, and we're talking about sales of shampoo, soap, toothpaste, deodorant, all down by at least 10% in all of this. And they reckon this is all since the COVID lockdown, that we all reassessed ourselves and we all thought, we don't have to be as clean. We can go to the chip shop in our pyjamas at night. That is so common.
That's a notorious one, isn't it?
Mine. Just wear clothes.
You'd never go out in your PJs?
Never.
No.
No, I hate that. When you're in the supermarket and you see someone
agree.
walking down the aisle in their PJs, I hate it.
Well, I'll go out in my trackies to the supermarket. That's okay, right, okay.
It's the dressing gown in Tesco.
The Mickey Mouse pyjamas. In the cheese aisle.
Like being in your underwear.
Yeah,
really.
I don't like it.
No, I do.
Well, I've definitely done that probably, but...
Well, so just to talk about this a little bit. So, sorry, this is quite funny, really. So, you're right, Eamonn. This is to do with COVID. And essentially this report says, soap numbers have plummeted 13% since 2019. And they attribute that directly to people not going into the office anymore. So, therefore, they're not feeling that they need to get up, brush the teeth, make an effort, which I think must be doing serious damage to some marriages out there, quite frankly, especially if you're working from home.
Worse if it doesn't. I mean, I know this very beautiful woman, very, very beautiful woman, and her husband has got plaque all over his teeth.
Oh,
no. Plaque all over his teeth.
Brush your teeth.
And I look and I think, well, she becomes less attractive to me because I think, does she actually kiss him?
By proxy.
Yeah. I just think, I mean, how could you kiss someone with really bad oral hygiene?
No,
you've got to be desperate, or you've just stopped looking at them in that way
also,
anymore,
in this, we're all suffering from... It's a little bit hot out at the moment. If you're getting on the tube, it's really horrendous, particularly the Victoria line. It's really, really bad. And it has whiffed a bit more than normal. I'm standing near the window, and I know all that pollution coming in. It's like, doomed if I do, doomed if I don't. I'll stand next to the window, thanks.
Right, here's a question. Do smelly people know they are smelly?
They must do.
No, I don't think they do.
You must smell yourself.
No, I don't think
you can't smell yourself.
But you have to, because everyone else can smell.
But you have to get someone you trust to smell you to check.
I think it's like walking into someone's house. If you walk into your own home, you don't smell your home, do you? You don't smell your own home.
I always get my friends to smell my house for me.
Do you?
Yeah, especially with a toddler and a dog.
I think that's what it is.
I can tell you, when they were alive, all my aunt and uncle's houses by a certain smell.
Exactly. Yeah.
Some would have a cooking smell in it, some would have, whatever, carpet smell, whatever. But I used to work in a TV station whereby a reporter, a contributor on the desk, had such bad body odour.
No.
Really, really bad. That what we used to do in the morning is we'd all come in with little white plastic cups and you would put air fresheners in and set them on the windowsill beside him and around
Someone
him.
needs to tell him, though. Does someone tell him?
Do you know how you're meant to deal with it?
No, I think you have to say, someone has to say, look, personal hygiene is really important and you need to up yours.
But do you know how you're meant to do it if you're in HR, apparently? I once got told this, not because I smelled, but just I don't know, it was fact. They said that what you're meant to do is just say to somebody that just on this occasion, we noticed that maybe, you know, your personal hygiene wasn't quite up to scratch. And you make it, you make out that it's a one-time thing to save their face
But
and to
that
save your
wouldn't
own.
stop you being offended, Nikki. I think.
But it stopped you making think that you had smelt for years or something.
Yeah, but you're better to be told.
Do you think it's better to be honest?
And there's no excuse. Soap is pennies in the shops.
It is.
Yeah. You can just
Well, the super thing is,
scrub
but
with
like,
soap.
say underwear, you change your underwear, what, every 4 days or so, and then you
Change your underwear every 4 days. That's vulgar. That is...
But listen, there are people who do.
I'm sure.
And much less than that.
Eamonn, I'll tell you, when I went to university, there was someone I lived with, unfortunately, told me that he thought that he didn't need to brush his teeth and that he thought they self-cleaned themselves, and the whole house went into uproar after.
And he was serious.
And he was
his
deadly
teeth
serious.
awful?
Yes, absolutely
He
awful.
never brushed his teeth.
No, he thought they self-cleaned. And I don't know who thought him this. I won't say his name live on there
lazy
because
parent
he'll
that
never
couldn't
forgive me
be
for
bothered to do
this.
it.
But we'll never let that go. I will never let that go.
That is really bad.
It's real. There's so many people who have weird things like this.
That comes down to parenting then.
It does come down to parenting.
Well, I even had a mother who would wash your tongue with soap. So that would...
Carbolic.
As soon as she said a bad word at any stage, that was it.
Yeah.
Didn't do me any good anyway, did it? Didn't work. Alex, Nikki, an absolute pleasure. Thank you very much indeed. Please do come back in 40 minutes' time and we'll do it all over again. We'll talk about other stories which are featuring in the papers.
Yeah, and do get in touch on any of the stories that we've been talking about as well. gbnews.com/you'll say. I know that you're going to have a view.
Change your bits and your...
Yeah, is there ever an excuse for bad hygiene? Do let us know what you think. Should we check on the weather with Aidan McGavin?
He smells lovely.
I bet he does smell lovely.
A brighter outlook with Box Solar, sponsors of weather on GB News.
Hello, a very good morning to you. Welcome to the latest forecast from the Met Office for GB News. Still some showers around today, but in between the showers there'll be a bit more sunshine compared with yesterday, and as a result it will feel a little warmer as well. Certainly a sunny start for Western Scotland, Northern Ireland, North West England, North Wales. Elsewhere, some cloud, some showers already from the word go. There'll be a few more developing through the morning and early afternoon. The odd sharp downpour. Otherwise, not everyone will see a shower. Away from them, with the sunshine feeling pleasant, with highs of 23 to 25 in the south, 18 to 22 further north. Then later in the day, the showers will tend to fade away. We're going to see a ridge of higher pressure build from the southwest, and that will allow plenty of evening sunshine across southern and southwestern parts of the UK. Temperatures during 5-6 p.m. up into the high teens, low 20s, feeling very pleasant out there, and most of the showers by this stage easing away. So for the vast majority, it is a fine end to the day. Western Scotland looking beautiful actually at this stage, with highs of 15 to 18 Celsius. And we'll see clearing skies develop more widely overnight, although there will still be some patchy cloud, particularly for Northern Ireland, Western Scotland, for example. The vast majority will stay dry overnight, however, and whether you've got the clear spells or the cloud, well, it's going to be a relatively mild night with temperatures in the mid-teens in the south, 11 to 13 further north. So we start Wednesday with plenty of dry and bright weather, long spells of sunshine for many central, southern and eastern parts of the UK. I think there'll be some showers pushing into Western Scotland for a time, and there'll also be some showers developing across eastern parts of England, some heavy downpours by the afternoon here, but for many it will stay dry, and where we get the sunshine, warm once again, 25 or 26 Celsius. Make the most of it because Thursday sees more rain arrive.
That warm feeling inside from Boxed Boilers, sponsors of weather on GB News.
The latest GB News travel.
Good morning, I'm Russell Holding. In the Highland, the A949 is closed in both directions between Spinningdale and Bonner Bridge after an accident yesterday afternoon. On the M1 in West Yorkshire, there's a lane closed southbound. Someone's broken down between junctions 40 and 39 near Wakefield. In South Yorkshire, the A61 remains closed along Barnsley Road at Mapplewell after an accident on Sunday afternoon. In Greater Manchester, the A676 remains closed along Deansgate in Bolton off the A673 Marsden Road after a pub caught fire on Saturday evening. In Staffordshire, on the A50, the westbound exit at the Normancott turn-off at Longton's closed because of a shed load. In the West Midlands, the A41 is closed southbound along Soho Hill at Lozells for an investigation. And in Wiltshire, the A350 is closed along West End in Westbury after an accident. That's the latest.
You can stay up to date throughout the day by visiting our website, gbnews.com.
£30,000 in cash has to be won. It's our biggest cash prize so far, and it could be yours. Charles was a winner. Listen to what he says about winning the Great British Giveaway.
I'm Charles. I'm on £18,000 cash. It was just amazing, and as soon as it goes into your bank account, it just changed. It's a life-changing thing.
The next big winner could be you, with an extra £30,000 cash in your bank. For another chance to win £30,000 in tax-free cash, text cash to 63232. Text costs £2 plus one standard network rate message. You can enter online at gbnews.com/win. Entries cost £2 or post your name and number to GB07 PO Box 8690 Derby DE1 9TT. UK only. Entrance must be 18 or over. Lines close at 5 p.m. on the 30th of August. Please check the closing time if listening or watching on demand. Good luck.
I'm Christopher Hope. From pop stars to politicians, I'll interview anybody in a pub who's got a political opinion. Join me every Friday on Spotify, Apple Podcasts, YouTube or gbnews.com, or wherever you get your podcasts. This is GB News, the People's Channel.
In the GB Newsroom, we bring you the news as it happens.
With our team of dedicated journalists across the UK,
GB News brings you accurate reporting of the day's topical agenda.
When the news breaks, wherever and whenever it's happening,
we'll be there.
This is GB News,
the People's Channel,
Britain's news channel.
We're proud to be GB News, the People's Channel. And as you know, we always love to hear your views. Now, there's a new way of getting in touch with us at gbnews.com/your say. By commenting, you can be part of a live conversation and join our GB News community. You can even talk to me, Bev Turner, or any of the members of the GB News family.
Good morning. Kamala Harris takes the campaign trail
as she clinches enough delegates to earn her party's nomination.
Attention now turns to who she'll pick as her running mate.
In other news, Conservatives launch plans for a 3-month leadership contest to replace Rishi Sunak.
Prince Harry congratulates the city of Birmingham as it's confirmed to host the Invictus Games in 3 years' time.
Are we raising a generation of women haters? A disturbing new police report reveals the damning truth about online radicalisation.
As families head away for the summer break, we'll be debating whether parents should ever be punished for taking their kids out of school for a holiday.
A few showers around today, but actually plenty of sunshine in between the downpours. It's going to feel a bit warmer as well. I'll have the full forecast coming up very soon.
Coming up to 1 minute past 7 o'clock. A very good morning to you. I'm Eamonn Holmes.
I'm Ellie Costello, and this is GB News Breakfast.
So many of your comments were talking about misogyny, hating women. Graham says, how can anyone hate women? They're God's gift to men. If I was a woman, I would...
What? If I was a woman...
No, I don't think we should read that out.
Are we allowed to say that?
I wouldn't think so. No. The Invictus Games, a lot of you there. The Invictus Games, now this is interesting, was a project that came from Prince Philip. He gave it to Harry to keep Harry out of trouble.
Oh, right.
So you can see how he would have set him up, and it set him up very, very well.
Yeah,
has to be said with this.
Yeah.
Will Meghan Markle endorse Kamala Harris? Who cares? Who puts any credence into what Meghan thinks? She's the kiss of death.
That's what you said. Dougal says if Meghan endorses any political candidate, there goes her royal title in a flash. The royals comment on nothing, supposedly. That boat will sail instantly.
Kamala Harris is woke personified. This is the Democratic machine in full flow. They will stop at nothing to keep power. And Michelle, finally.
Says Harris is as embarrassing as Biden. And on hygiene, we've also been talking about hygiene this morning,
yes.
haven't we?
The reason we're talking about hygiene is that sales of toothpaste, of shampoo, of deodorant, of all sorts of things, down 10% since lockdown.
Lots of smelly people out there. DA has been in touch saying smelly people know they're smelly, but only if you tell them. I've had to do it in the workplace. It's hard, but so is having to work alongside it, which is a great point, actually. I don't think anyone else should suffer.
Yeah, that's very true. And you know what? There is nothing as nice as a nice-smelling person.
It's true.
Breath.
You want to be so
smells
close to them.
Yeah, they feel fresh, they feel clean, and that is a good feeling to
It's
have.
very true.
Unless you think otherwise, let us know, gbnews.com/your say. So, Vice President Kamala Harris looks likely to become the Democratic Party's nominee, as she has raised a record $81 million in just 24 hours in fundraising.
Well, that's as reports emerge that Kamala Harris is eyeing up a white male running mate to boost her chances in key battleground states.
Now, earlier we spoke to foreign correspondent Sarah Firth, who had a lot to say on all of this. Sarah.
Record-breaking amount of fundraising in the time since it was announced that Kamala Harris was going to be running for president. And we heard just a few short hours ago that she has now secured enough of the support from Democratic delegates to be the nominee for her party. So it's full steam ahead for Harris HQ. It's very interesting, actually, Eamonn and Ellie, today just outside the White House. I was speaking to people about what was happening, the events as they were unfolding. We'd yet to hear from Kamala Harris at that point, and a really mixed reaction. A lot of people saying they were disappointed in the fact that they obviously felt that they hadn't been given perhaps as much information as they needed about Biden, about his state, about his health. A lot of support, though, for Kamala Harris. A lot of people saying they feel invigorated, they feel excited. And amongst the Republican supporters that we were speaking to, they were still saying, look, okay, it might have been a curveball for the Republican Party, but they still think Trump is in it to win it. So there's, look, a lot of positive noises in these first early days since the announcement's been made. The big question here today on many Americans' lips is, where is Joe Biden? We have heard from the president today. He called in to Harris HQ. He spoke to Kamala Harris. It was very warm. It was very loving. Lots of touchy-feely words. People want to see him, though, after this major announcement that he's stepping down from the re-election bid. We haven't seen him since. So that's the big question on everyone's lips at the moment. Yeah. The White House have confirmed that we're expecting him to be back in D.C. tomorrow, but we'll keep you posted on that.
Well, I do have to say, I know a lot of people who've got COVID yet again, and it's really bad.
Oh, really?
This time round, yeah.
But
there's good news and bad news for Kamala Harris, Sarah. The good news is her popularity rating is the same as President Biden's. I was hearing on the radio today. That's the good news. The bad news is he's got rubbish popularity ratings anyway. So they're both in the same boat. She, according to what I heard today, is just not popular.
Yeah, and Eamonn, look, you know, we discussed yesterday with you and Ellie in the wake of this, just shockwaves of news throughout the American public about the fact that, you know, the initial response from a lot in the Democratic Party has been this line that Biden's some sort of hero for finally doing the right thing and putting the American people first. But the reality is it doesn't give Kamala Harris that much time to be getting out onto the campaign trail, to be getting her message across. Now, we did hear from her today. She laid out some of her credentials. She was speaking about her work as a prosecutor, as an attorney general in the US. Now, we know that she has got this very tough stance, this very tough image. She's got a very impressive track record with her legal career. It's thought that's going to really be something, sort of messaging that she tries to put across on the campaign trail. She said something along the lines of, I know guys like Donald Trump. So that's really where she's positioning herself. But Eamonn, you're absolutely right. There is a lot of people out there who are questioning this decision so late in the day, already feeling let down by the Democratic Party, by the White House and the party around the president. And remember, Kamala Harris was in that inner circle. She's the vice president. So all these questions about why didn't the American public know sooner the state of Biden's health and his ability to run for the next 4 years, why weren't people informed of this? Kamala Harris has a lot of accountability there that she has to answer to as well.
Sarah Firth and the new Conservative Party leader will be announced on the 2nd of November.
Yes, that's according to the party. Rishi Sunak will remain leader until then, despite leading the Conservatives through their worst defeat ever in the election earlier this month.
Let's go to our political correspondent, Catherine Forster, on this one. Catherine, what have you got to add?
Yes, well, we've got nearly 3.5 months till we find out who is going to become the official leader of the opposition and indeed the Conservative Party. So Rishi Sunak is now acting leader. He said that he's doing this because it's the right thing for the country and they need a bit of stability. And my goodness, they do, don't they, at the rate at which they've gone through leaders in the last couple of years. So nominations open tomorrow, close next Monday for some of those 121 remaining Conservative MPs who want to have a go at becoming leader. They've got to get 10 MPs on side to go forwards. They'll then spend the summer campaigning. They'll be whittled down to 4 by MPs at the beginning of September. And then they'll go to party conference, have some sort of beauty parade there, be knocked down to the final 2 by MPs, and then those 2 will go to the members who are traditionally to the right of the MPs, and they will pick a leader. We will know who that is on November the 2nd. Now, looking at some of those faces there, we've got the former Home Secretary, Suella Braverman, the Shadow Security Minister, Tom Tugendhat, Shadow Business Secretary, Kemi Badenoch, another former Home Secretary there, Priti Patel, and former Immigration Minister, Robert Jenrick. There may be more as well, so we've got a long summer ahead. But really, the Conservative Party has got to decide what it is and where it is going, because if they move to the right towards Reform, who of course cost them a lot of seats, are partly responsible for the fact they did as badly as they did because people went to Reform or felt they weren't conservative enough and sat at home. If they do that, they will alienate people that might have been previously Conservative voters but were fed up with them and went to the Lib Dems. Similarly, if they tack more towards the centre, they may potentially win back some of those cross people who went over to the Lib Dems, but they're likely to lose more on the right. So there's no easy answer to any of this, but my goodness, what a fall from grace when you consider that it's only end of 2019 that Boris Johnson won that 80-seat majority. He somehow managed to create a coalition of voters that span this huge sort of electoral width, if you like. Those days for the Conservative Party at the moment seem to be well and truly gone.
Catherine, thank you very much indeed. Look at the other news coming in so far on this Tuesday morning. 11-year-old Poppy Roller has been orphaned after her mother, father and sisters were killed in a horror crash on Sunday afternoon.
Well, the family members died along with another man and a woman when their car collided with a motorbike. A GoFundMe has raised over £187,000 to help support the 11-year-old girl.
Cases of violence against women and girls have risen by a staggering 40% since 2018, according to the National Police Chiefs Council. It comes as a senior police officer has warned a rise in women hating is partially down to the influence of the internet and internet personalities such as controversial YouTuber Andrew Tate.
Biologists have discovered traces of cocaine in sharks off the coast of Brazil. They say the substance could be making the predators more aggressive. Scientists have warned that sharks likely ingested the drug after traces seeped into the water from illegal labs.
And the BBC's head of entertainment is allegedly fighting for her job following the controversy surrounding Strictly. The reports come just hours after Strictly pro Janet Manara denied accusations her training left Paralympian Will Bailey with a lifelong injury.
Lots of you getting in touch on hygiene this morning. We really got you going on that story. So what was it? It's sales of soap, deodorant, shampoo are all down, aren't they?
Toothpaste.
Oh, no.
Yes. That's a
It gets worse.
It gets worse. It does get worse.
It does get worse. Anyway, it's obviously really related. It struck a chord with you, yeah, and you relate to this one a lot. Sue Ryder says she once had to tell an employee of mine, as other staff were complaining, that she smelt. I invited her into my office. I gave her a bag that I'd bought. It contained soap, deodorant, toothbrush and a toothpaste. We didn't discuss it, but after that, the problem was solved. That's probably quite a good way of doing it.
So, hello, come on in to talk to you. Here's a present for you. You would take the hint sort of straight away,
Yeah, you don't need to
you?
say anything. Oh, yeah, you wouldn't. I don't think you'd need to say anything.
So what would
Maybe
happen?
that's the right way to do it, Sue.
Well, if you were in HR or, you know, you're an employer and you had to give that message to an employee, I wonder how easily that goes down. Or can the employee then take a case against you for humiliating?
I think you have to be really careful in this day and age, yeah. I know of a company where this happened and it was a male boss and a female employee.
Right, so that's bad news.
That was bad news.
Was she younger?
Yes, by a lot. So he felt like he couldn't say anything because he might get in trouble. So he went to HR and then HR sent out a company-wide email just reminding people of their personal hygiene standards.
Oh, yeah, so they issued the warning or the advice
to
everyone.
everybody.
Yes.
She didn't pick up on it.
Did she pick up on it?
No.
No?
No, so maybe that isn't the way to do it. Maybe Sue's got the right idea that you just hand someone over a bag. No words said. Dave's been in touch saying, as a supervisor, I once had to take a staff member into the office and tell them that they had BO. It was very bad BO. It was one of the most difficult things I've ever had to do as a supervisor, but I think it was the right thing to do.
OK, let me ask you this. Has this ever happened to you? Has anyone ever said to you, Jimmy, you've got BO, you've got BO, and what are you going to do about it? Or are you clean up? I mean, can you tell us, you don't have to give us your real name or anything, but can you tell us if the warning was issued to you, if the advice was issued to you, and how you received it? Did you actually act upon it?
Somebody's been in touch saying that LE soap could be expensive if you're living below the poverty line. But having said that, I have just had a quick look online. You can get it as cheap as 65p.
Yeah, sorry, I just, cut in there. My mother always had this saying, soap and water doesn't cost much. She always used to say that when she would see scruffy, dirty, unhygienic people. Soap and water doesn't cost much, and I agree with that. I mean, what sort of person are you that you don't keep yourself in shape in terms of BO or bad breath or something awful like that? I don't know. But then, I actually don't think I would buy soap anymore.
Would you not? You'd use shower gel?
Yeah, I'd use gels of all sorts.
Yeah.
But soap, do you actually have a bar of soap in your house?
I don't have bars of soap, I have liquid soap now.
See, exactly.
Liquid soap and shower gel.
Soap sort of strikes me as... I went into a hotel recently and they gave you a reconstituted bar of soap. And this was made out of soap that was discarded by previous guests.
No, I don't like it.
And I don't like it. Well, this was where it's been rubbed.
Yeah, you don't know where...
Yes. Then they say, here, have this, Eamonn, and rub this round your face.
No. Because, a bar of soap, I actually think, is probably not very hygienic because you don't know where it's been rubbed.
Exactly. Well, you can guess where it's been rubbed.
Well...
If it's been used properly, it has been rubbed there.
Maybe standards have just slipped across the board. People aren't buying toothpaste and shampoo and soap.
And dirty animals.
And you were telling us that we're more immoral and we've got no integrity. That's another story in the papers today.
Yes.
It's not good, is it? Standards slipping across the board.
We're all going to hell in a handcart, it appears. Maybe the weather can save us. Aidan McGovern.
A brighter outlook with Box Solar, sponsors of weather on GB News.
Hello, a very good morning to you. Welcome to the latest forecast from the Met Office for GB News. Still some showers around today, but in between the showers there'll be a bit more sunshine compared with yesterday, and as a result it will feel a little warmer as well. Certainly a sunny start for Western Scotland, Northern Ireland, North West England, North Wales. Elsewhere, some cloud, some showers already from the word go. There'll be a few more developing through the morning and early afternoon. The odd sharp downpour. Otherwise, not everyone will see a shower. Away from them, with the sunshine feeling pleasant, with highs of 23 to 25 in the south, 18 to 22 further north. Then later in the day, the showers will tend to fade away. We're going to see a ridge of higher pressure build from the southwest, and that will allow plenty of evening sunshine across southern and southwestern parts of the UK. Temperatures during 5-6 p.m. up into the high teens, low 20s, feeling very pleasant out there, and most of the showers by this stage easing away. So for the vast majority, it is a fine end to the day. Western Scotland looking beautiful actually at this stage, with highs of 15 to 18 Celsius. And we'll see clearing skies develop more widely overnight, although there will still be some patchy cloud, particularly for Northern Ireland, Western Scotland, for example. The vast majority will stay dry overnight, however, and whether you've got the clear spells or the cloud, well, it's going to be a relatively mild night with temperatures in the mid-teens in the south, 11 to 13 further north. So we start Wednesday with plenty of dry and bright weather, long spells of sunshine for many central, southern and eastern parts of the UK. I think there'll be some showers pushing into Western Scotland for a time, and there'll also be some showers developing across eastern parts of England, some heavy downpours by the afternoon here, but for many it will stay dry, and where we get the sunshine, warm once again, 25 or 26 Celsius. Make the most of it, because Thursday sees more rain arrive.
That warm feeling inside from Boxed Boilers, sponsors of weather on GB News.
Now, some good news for you this morning. There's still plenty of time to grab your chance to win £30,000 in the Great British Giveaway. It's so good. It's actually our biggest cash prize of the year so far.
Well, I never win anything.
Well, you can't win this one, so you're not going to win this
We won the Trick Award. We won that.
We did. Twice we did. Twice we did.
So if you
Thank
got
you to
extra,
you.
but cash would be nice. You get an award, but cash could be good. What would you
Money
do with
talks.
extra cash? Money does talk. And what way would yours talk? Here's how you could win.
£30,000 in cash has to be won. It's our biggest cash prize so far, and it could be yours. Charles was a winner. Listen to what he says about winning the Great British Giveaway.
I'm Charles. I'm on £18,000 cash. It was just amazing, and as soon as it goes into your bank account, it just changed. It's a life-changing thing.
The next big winner could be you, with an extra £30,000 cash in your bank. For another chance to win £30,000 in tax-free cash, text cash to 63232. Text costs £2 plus one standard network rate message. You can enter online at gbnews.com/win. Entries cost £2, or post your name and number to GB07 PO Box 8690 Derby DE1 9TT. UK only. Entrance must be 18 or over. Lines close at 5 p.m. on the 30th of August. Please check the closing time if listening or watching on demand. Good luck.
Yes, good luck.
Yeah, a lot of people are saying they'd spend that extra money on their water bills. They're saying that a lot of reason why people aren't as clean as they used to be is that water is so expensive.
Yeah.
Or that the price of deodorants, Linda says, puts people off and they don't seem to work. These deodorants as good as they should. Now, interesting, Emily. Good morning, Emily. Fish odour syndrome, if you have that.
Oh, that sounds awful.
Do you have that?
I don't have that.
You sure?
I'm neurotic about the way that I smell. You know that. I've got mints here.
Well, I don't know how the mints stop your fish odour syndrome, but anyway, Emily says fish odour syndrome is the worst. People actually have this, and they can never leave the house as a result.
I've never heard of that. So you just go around smelling a fish?
I'll tell you about it during the break, right? I'll tell you about that. Still to come, we'll be looking at the worrying rise in violence against women and girls, men, influencers, these guys like Andrew Tate, and their attitude towards women, and what should be done about it. Talking about that after this. Oh.
Hi there, I'm Michelle Dewberry, and I'm going to take a second to tell you all about my show, Dubes & Co. We start off with the issues of the day. We then bring in both sides of the arguments. We get rid of the disrespect. And then you throw me into the mix. And trust me, I'll tell it exactly how it is. And then, of course, the magic ingredient, you at home. We mix it all together, and what have we got? In my opinion, the best debate show in town. Monday to Friday, 6 till 7 on GB News, Britain's news channel.
Mark Dolan tonight is your weekend dose of news, debate and entertainment.
This sounds like a wild conspiracy theory.
Don't miss my big opinion. Mark meets and my take at 10.
Democracy is a funny old thing.
And we don't do boring, not on my watch. I just won't have it.
Go and get another glass of that bubbly, you've earned it.
That's Mark Dolan tonight, Saturday and Sunday, 9 to 11, only on GB News, the People's Channel, Britain's news channel.
If you want your news to be straight talking,
this is a nightmare for the Conservatives again.
Down to earth.
It's not just Nottingham where this is happening, is it?
And most importantly, honest.
Hard-working, middle-class taxpayers, they'll get the book thrown at them.
Then catch me, Martin Daubney, Monday to Friday, 3 till 6 p.m. on GB News, Britain's news channel.
In the GB newsroom, we bring you the news as it happens.
With our team of dedicated journalists across the UK,
GB News brings you accurate reporting of the day's topical agenda.
When the news breaks, wherever and whenever it's happening,
we'll be there.
This is GB News,
the People's Channel,
Britain's news channel.
Join me, Neil Oliver, every Sunday night at 6 p.m. on GB News. And if an hour is not nearly enough for you, go to gbnews.com for special extended episodes online every Friday at 9 p.m, where we can truly get into the nitty-gritty of what's going on. GB News, Britain's news channel.
Good afternoon, Britain.
Your lunchtime update on the stories that matter across the UK.
From breaking news and insightful analysis, inspiring stories and lively debates. You're comparing yourself to a former Prime Minister.
Which is it? Stay informed, stay updated, stay entertained.
I just don't know how anyone would not want to be there.
Every weekday from midday.
We are Good Afternoon Britain, only on GB News.
Britain's news channel.
I'm Patrick Christie's. Every weeknight from 9, I bring you 2 hours of unmissable, explosive debate and headline-grabbing interviews. What impact has that had?
We got death threats and the bomb threat and so on.
As time passes, she could have said Storm.
You made my argument for me.
My guests and I tackle the issues that really matter, with a sharp take on every story.
It went everywhere.
Something practical could be done.
Or I can become something different.
Patrick Christie's tonight from 9 p.m, only on GB News, Britain's news channel.
Right, we're talking about this very disturbing situation, habit of online influencers. People like this man, Andrew Tate, could be radicalising young men and boys into hating women. It's the police that are saying this is the case.
Well, it comes after violence against women rose by 40% in the past 5 years, and what experts are warning is a national emergency.
We want to speak now to Marilyn Hawes. And Marilyn, you are the founder and chief executive of Freedom from Abuse. And Ellie and I were just talking during the break. The thing that really frightens me about me on this is that the idea that misogyny exists and whatever is very disturbing. But I would look upon this and I'd say, well, surely it can't be that bad. It's not out there because I don't see it in my life or men around me. But I am now increasingly aware that this is a very real thing, and the fact that it is a real thing, that it's encouraged or tolerated by other parents and siblings and goodness knows what. How disturbed are you by it all?
It's massive, Eamonn, it really is, and it has been for a long time. So for some time now, the police have been saying this is as bad as radicalisation. Andrew Tate is the most vile human being, and his mantra has fed in to pornography, right? So his hatred and humiliation of women and his vile bullying sex acts is right in there in the core of pornography. Now, the boys, you've got children of 7 years old watching pornography on their phones. So there's one issue. Why have young children got these smartphones, iPhones? Why are they not being monitored? Why are they watching pornography? You go into schools, I go into schools, I see a lot of it. And when I'm called into schools, even with 10 and 11-year-old boys, because of the way they're treating young girls. So I try not to mention the name Andrew Tate. I say there's an influencer who is a very bad influence. Why do you watch him? So they go, oh, well, you know, he's got women and he's got cars and he's got money. Yeah, well, you know, all done by exploitation. I said, and he doesn't treat women well. He even tattoos his name on their thighs. So he's, you're part of his possession, if you like. He's absolutely vile. And you do see this around the schools. The way some of the boys are talking, even in primary schools, to the girls is horrendous. And as you said earlier, you nicked my phrase, we're going to hell in a handcart. But also, furthermore, the sex education in schools is rubbish, which is also what the teenagers will say. Oh, why do you, well, you know, it's so awful. That's why we watch pornography. Right. I said, you can't unsee what you've seen, and that's not real life.
Well, I'd so much there to get through, but I want to ask you to, it's all right, you know, me talking about this. I'm a man. I'm not experiencing this. Are you two, as women, Marilyn, you and obviously, Ellie, I'd like to ask you, are you aware of being treated differently or being hated or disliked because you are simply a woman by some men?
I haven't experienced being hated, but I've experienced being ignored because I'm a woman in some settings, yes.
Yes.
Yeah, that's something I've experienced. What about you, Marilyn?
Well, I'm a bit older. And a bit more wrinkly, so I don't suffer from that. But through my work, I see it. And the lack of respect with youngsters today and people generally has gone. So the schools will bang on about consent. But if I don't respect you, I'm going to do it anyway.
Yeah.
And they don't put respect for each other, respect for their education, respect for their lives. It's not there. It just is not there. And we need dads to stand up. And even in schools, what is it to be a man? It isn't being a bullying sexual brute. That's not being a man. That's an abject coward. You know,
but surely if you're a man and there are women in your life, and we all will have had a mother, and you know, and if you have sisters or you have daughters, surely that has got to change the way you would think and make you strong in defending women.
Well, you would think so, wouldn't you? I mean, I always did with my children. I had 3 boys and a girl, and I used to always be saying, you don't treat your sister or any woman like that. There's so many teenage girls whose brothers are into this Andrew Tate man and the pornography, etc., that they actually say to their parents, well, I don't like so-and-so being like this. Where's the parenting gone? If people would just stop being woke and come out and tell it like it is, you might get somewhere.
Where have the phones gone? Where's the technology gone? You talk about who's responsible. Why aren't these tech companies, you know, if there is a phone destined for children, we can't exclude all of them from it, but we could exclude 70% of them from it. If phones are designed for children, they have children-appropriate content on it. Surely no access to porn.
Well, the online safety bill, well, they know how to get in it, and they'll also watch it through an older child or older brother, you see. So, I mean, they're saying 11-year-old boys, 1 in 4 of them, 10 and 11-year-old boys, are watching porn, right? 1 in 4. So do the maths. But the online safety bill, I mean, it's just not strong enough. I mean, if stuff can be posted out there like Tate's absolute trash, then why can't it be taken down? They're saying they can take down messages and stuff that's harming children. Well, why don't they just wipe the whole of the internet clean of Andrew Tate? Why don't they? I always said it was too weak. I always said the online safety bill was too weak. And DCC Maggie Blythe has said the same thing, but no one does anything about it. I mean, I've been banging on about Andrew Tate and misogyny towards women for ages, but nobody does anything. You know, is Keir Starmer going to do anything different? You know, but parents need to, I know I keep on saying about parents, but you buy the phones and all those devices, and that's where this trash comes through. It comes through. Well, why are children up in their bedrooms with their phones and their devices? Get it downstairs. See what they're watching. Okay. Why do kids need to take a phone into school? They don't need it when they're at school. I despair. I really worry where this is all going, because it is an epidemic.
let's change it. Let's all do our bit and do our thing and have zero tolerance of all of this.
Yeah, absolutely. Marilyn, we're out of time, I'm afraid.
Absolutely right.
But thank you so much.
If Keir Starmer or anybody else's child was raped, assaulted, or anything like that through anything that's on the internet, you watch it would come down. If it affected any of those MPs, something would be done. But I've been in this industry for 23 years. I've seen no real change to protect and prevent harm to young girls and boys, even teenagers in this country. I haven't seen it across any whatever political party. No one wants to know. It's the elephant in the room, and someone's got to shoot that elephant.
Marilyn, we've got to leave it there. I'm sorry to say the clock has beaten us. Marilyn Hawes from Freedom from Abuse. Thank you very much indeed for airing those subjects. Maybe you'll come in, Marilyn, and we'll spend longer in the studio one day.
To us talking about it is the answer, isn't it? And putting it out there, because unfortunately Andrew Tate and his videos are out there.
And you know the real thing? When you meet people who have suffered in real life sexual violence of some description or abuse, and then it really comes home that this is real and this affects people's lives. And when it happens to someone young, it stays with them for the rest of their life, which is an awful, awful thing.
And on that note, this is what is just quite so terrifying about all of this. The average age of suspects accused of sexual abuse, girls, is 15. The average age of their victim is 13.
So sorry, girls who carry out sexual abuse?
No, so the average age of suspects accused of the sexual abuse of girls is 15. The average age of victims is 13. So it is children.
Children, absolutely.
Doing this to other children.
Now, we're going to continue the subject of children right after the break, and we're talking about this business of school holidays, right? Now, this is very controversial, and everybody thinks they have a right to do this, and then you get a whole sector of parents who say, well, the school's the boss, they decide when our holidays is or not. But a lot of you will say, well, I demand my 2 weeks off a year at the right price, and I can get a better, cheaper holiday with TUI, you know, in June or April or whatever it is than I can in July. And that's when I'm taking my kids out for school. Should parents be punished for doing that? Talking about that next.
The latest GB News travel.
Good morning, I'm Russell Holding. In the Highland, the A949 is closed in both directions between Spinningdale and Bonner Bridge after an accident yesterday afternoon. In South Yorkshire, the A61 remains closed each way along Barnsley Road in Mapplewell after an accident on Sunday afternoon. In Greater Manchester, the A676 remains closed each way along Deansgate off the A673 Marston Road in Bolton after a fire last week. In Staffordshire, on the A50, the westbound exit to the A5007 at Longton closed because of a shed load. In the West Midlands, the A41 is closed southbound along Soho Hill into Birmingham at Hockley because of an investigation. London Overground services aren't running between Gospel Oak and South Tottenham after a train broke down, and on the M26 in Kent, it's taking nearly half an hour already this morning, and queues approaching the M25 because of roadworks.
You can stay up to date throughout the day by visiting our website, gbnews.com.
Are the newspapers getting you down?
My wife didn't divorce me that month.
Struggling to separate the wheat from the chaff?
I know that it's a bit of a circus at the best of times.
Well, don't worry, Headliners has got you covered. We'll take the burden of reading the day's news, and if we get depressed, who cares? It's an occupational hazard, frankly. That's Headliners on GB News from 11 p.m. till midnight, and the following morning, 5 till 6 a.m. on GB News, the comedy channel. Nah, just kidding. Britain's news channel.
Tune in to Friday Night Live with me, Mark Dolan. GB News royalty with your perfect start to the weekend. Lucky us! Feisty and fearless guests.
Well, I'm a normal person, so ask me.
Honest opinions.
That raises more questions than a Gary Barlow tax return.
And a few surprises along the way.
Might be cold in this studio.
That is Friday Night Live with me, Mark Dolan. 8 to 9 only on GB News, the People's Channel, Britain's news channel.
Good afternoon, Britain.
Your lunchtime update on the stories that matter across the UK.
From breaking news and insightful analysis, inspiring stories and lively debates. Are you comparing yourself to a former Prime Minister?
Which is it?
Stay informed, stay updated, stay entertained.
I just don't know how anyone would not want to be there.
Every weekday from midday.
We are Good Afternoon Britain. only on GB News.
Britain's news channel.
Hi there, I'm Michelle Dewberry, and I'm going to take a second to tell you all about my show, Dubes & Co. We start off with the issues of the day. We then bring in both sides of the argument. We get rid of the disrespect. And then you throw me into the mix. And trust me, I'll tell it exactly how it is. And then, of course, the magic ingredient, you at home. We mix it all together, and what have we got? In my opinion, the best debate show in town. Monday to Friday, 6 till 7 on GB News, Britain's news channel.
Over half of parents say they won't be able to afford a holiday this summer and are open to taking their children out of school during term time. Well, my argument with that is they would say that. Of course, they're going to say, oh, we can't afford it, it's 50 quid more expensive, whatever it is.
Yeah.
You can't afford it, or you don't do it. There's a reason for school holidays. So let's talk to Chris McGovern about this. Chris is chairman of the Campaign for Real Education, a former head teacher himself, Chris, and Kirsty Nicholl-Hadley, who's an inclusion consultant. And the thing is, Chris, the fines are increasing. What are they doing, Ellie, the fines?
£60 to £80, I believe, Chris. Will that make a blind bit of difference to parents who want to take their children out during term time?
What it will do is send a signal that is not approved, of course. It will make a minor difference. But the point I would like to make is that when these children come back from their term time holidays, teachers, being professional people as they are, hard working, they help the children who've been away to catch up. This means other children in the class are not going to get the time and attention. Some of their children in particular are from poorer backgrounds. They can't afford a holiday any time of the year. So we have a situation where by taking your child away in term time, you're damaging other children. When you damage other children, a fine is appropriate. But personally, I'd only fine once. Then I'd ask the parents to find another school where they can take term time holidays. So perhaps we should be clearer. Let head teachers decide. This is a school where you have to turn up, or one where you can come and go as you like. So damage is caused.
Kirsty, what Chris is saying basically is that rules have got to be conformed to. The learning pattern has to be implemented. And if you don't turn up, if you head off to Benidorm for 2 weeks or whatever, it's not invisible. Somebody's got to catch up, either the pupil or the teachers, and the other kids in the class suffer about all this as well. What would you say in response to that?
Well, I think, good morning, everybody, for a start. I think that it's interesting that Chris says if families don't wish to pay for the fines that are being issued, they should find another school. Well, private schools don't issue the fines. These fines are only built for state schools, right? So, and Chris will remember this, that head teachers in state schools in England did used to have the authority to grant up to 2 weeks term time during, so 2 weeks holiday time during term time up until 2013. So it was only in 2015 that these rules and legislation were implemented. And I think that we're living in a very different world now. You know, it's a cost of living.
A world that the parents make the rules, not the schools.
Well, I think that since COVID, we have had a breakdown of trust between schools and parents. And I think that we have got skint, stressed parents everywhere, right? And we've got anxious children everywhere. So if we continue with this narrative of criminalising, because that's what we're talking about here. We're talking about criminalising taking our children out of school during term time. People are going to break. And we knew this was going to happen.
I'm smiling that you're laughing, that you think that's a horrible thing, being criminalised for not sending your kids to school. I would think it's quite natural to be criminalised. Both of your parents were teachers.
Yeah, I'm the daughter of teachers, yeah. So obviously I would say it's best to be in school. You should be in school every day. That's what school holidays are for. But do you think, Chris, that's an interesting point made just there, that there had been a breakdown in trust between families and schools during COVID. Do you think lockdown had something to do with this, where parents were seeing children have many, many days, potentially even weeks off school, and they now feel like they can take their children out of school any time?
Well, look, first of all, let me say that I think schools are like families. They have to hang together and need to support each other. Of course they do. Some parents want to take their children out of school. I don't agree with that. I was a former head teacher, and I would say, look, let's make it clear that parents can choose a school perhaps where this is allowed. We need to have schools where you can come and go as you like. I don't think many parents would choose them, or ones where you have to turn up. I think when parents join up with a school, they need to sign a contract to say they will abide by the rules. This is a taxpayer-funded set up after all. We're paying for this education. Around the world, they think we're going crazy. In Afghanistan, girls can't even go to school. They have a permanent holiday. We need to appreciate education more. Look, a passport to the future is a lot more important than a passport to Mallorca, even though it might be tough in the short term.
Yeah. Well, Kirsty, you think the future is going to look different, that things are going to change, and there's going to be more understanding of parents doing what they want when they want?
Well, it depends whether the government's got any backbone.
I don't think this isn't about parents and families doing what they want when they want, right? In September 2023, the Education Select Committee, whose job it is to scrutinise the work of the Department for Education, published its own report into persistent absences. And their findings, the government's own findings, were that families are struggling with high school costs and in some cases, finding is not appropriate, compassionate, or helpful, okay? And now, they also found that due to local authority discretion, fines/prosecution were used inconsistently as a first resort, and requests for enforcement were being submitted without clear evidence. And the Education Select Committee recommended that legal intervention would be used as a last resort only. Right, that's the government's own recommendation, and that is now not what's happening. In fact, we're seeing the exact opposite.
Nikki, Kirsty and Chris, thank you both very much indeed. The clock has beaten us, so thank you very much for your contribution. You'll get people talking about this throughout the programme today.
Yeah.
Appreciate your input. Thank you very much indeed.
Thank you.
I just could never imagine being at school. I was from a very working class background, but I couldn't imagine walking in with a suntan after 2 weeks and nobody mentioning it and nobody saying this is different or why were you allowed to do this or this is horrendous. It just didn't happen in my day. It just didn't happen. People didn't go to their caravan and, disappear for a week or 2 weeks or whatever.
No.
And the school was the boss. End of story.
Yeah, same for me. No one was ever taking a holiday during term time, but a lot has changed in the last few years.
Yeah,
loads of you I can see already are emailing in about this. We'll share that at the top of the hour.
Do they go to school in their pyjamas?
Well, I hope not.
Yes.
That would be very bad, wouldn't it?
Yes, well, that's the other trend we've set today with people who go shopping in their pyjamas. Alex Armstrong, Nikki Hodgson, their views on that and other things right after this. Don't go away.
Join me, Camilla Tominey, for a frank and honest discussion with those in power that cuts through the spin and gets to the heart of the issues shaping our nation.
You haven't confirmed that you want to stand as leader, but you haven't ruled it out either.
This report basically says that he's not fit to stand trial. Is he indecisive? Incompetent?
I deliver the dose of reality Westminster needs. That's the Camilla Tominey Show at 9:30 every Sunday on GB News, the People's Channel, Britain's news channel.
Good afternoon, Britain. Weekdays from midday.
Now, time for the best part of the show, our Greatest Britain, where we share amazing people who do amazing things. And this week, that is Dr. Leo Cheng and Reverend Hilary Cheng.
Well, Dr. Chen regularly serves as a volunteer surgeon aboard the Mercy ships in West Africa and has recently served his 17th mission aboard the ships. He volunteers with his wife, Reverend Hilary Cheng, a Methodist minister in the UK.
Thank you for joining us, and what a privilege. So just briefly explain, what are Mercy ships?
Well, Mercy ships provide world-class surgery on the ship, and the ship then sail to these poorest of the poor country because there's no infrastructure to get road or rail there. And we offer free surgery and also education training of medical staff and partner with the local or the host nation to build up their surgical and anaesthetic services.
So how long have you been travelling West Africa? You go on all these different ships, different ports, and you treat the needy and the vulnerable. How long have you both been doing this?
20 years.
20 years?
Just over 20 years.
And you take the time to do this out of your own holiday from work. Why do you do it?
Well, because I'm indebted to the education in this country with all the qualification I get. And NHS is great. I love the NHS because without NHS, we see cases that we see in the low-income country. And I want to make use of my hand to help those people who have no way of helping themselves. because the tumours, the deformities, not just a physical ailment, but it's being ostracised and die early, commit suicide because they've been ostracised by their family.
When you're on the ship, you are seeing the very worst that the country can offer. I find it a great privilege to work alongside these people.
GB News, the People's Channel.
Mark Dolan tonight is your weekend dose of news, debate and entertainment.
This sounds like a wild conspiracy theory.
Don't miss My Big Opinion, Mark Meets, and My Take at 10.
Democracy is a funny old thing.
And we don't do boring, not on my watch. I just won't have it.
Go and get another glass of that bubbly. You've earned it.
That's Mark Dolan tonight, Saturday and Sunday, 9 to 11, only on GB News, the People's Channel, Britain's news channel.
Stories making the papers today. Alex Armstrong, Nikki Hodgson here for your information and entertainment. And a very, very sad story, Nikki, to begin with. This young girl, Poppy Roller, left, she's 11 years of age, left an orphan.
Oh, this is just, I mean, tragic doesn't cover it, really. It's this terrible story about this family that were involved in a car crash, a collision with a motorbike in Wakefield, which is my hometown, actually, on a stretch of road that I know very well, the A61, between Wakefield and Barnsley. And Poppy happened to be at a friend's house playing when the rest of her family were involved in this crash. 2 sisters and her mum and dad have died. And you just... I don't even know where you start with thinking about how you repair this young girl's life after this kind of incident.
Her life is dictated now, but
I mean,
why didn't she go on that trip? Why was she in her friend's house? And
it's completely unbearable. I mean, the only positives that have come out of it are the fact that the community has really pulled together to support her. She does have family. She does have amazing family friends that are rallying around her. And then there's been a GoFundMe campaign, which is so far raised £187,000 as of this morning, which is to go towards her life costs, which, you know, if you're an orphan, where on earth do you get money from to survive?
We wish her well. We wish her well.
Can't stop thinking about her this morning. Poppy Roller. Poor
We're
girl.
also talking about smells throughout the programme today.
We have bad smells, but this is the smell of stress, Alex.
Yeah, sorry, yes. Yes. So dogs, I mean, I love dogs. I don't know people who don't love dogs. I love dogs so much.
I don't trust people if they don't like dogs.
Do you have a dog?
No.
You want
I want one.
You want one like mine, don't you?
I want one like yours.
Intelligent, empathetic,
got
man's
one?
best friend.
Point, yes.
Man's best friend. So, an incredible studies come out and said that. I mean, I think most dog owners already knew this, but we now know that dogs can smell stress. They can sense your emotions, so to speak. Yeah. And this is a big report that's come out and saying, you know, if you're pessimistic or if you're feeling negative, your dog can pick up on it and they will
if you're in bed sick.
Absolutely, no. They're incredible. My mini Dachshund, actually, my little daughter, who's 18 months, has just started going to nursery 3 days a week. And when she comes home, she's exhausted and she needs to decompress. And she wants the dog. And she sits with the dog and they have a cuddle. And he knows that it's now his turn to go to her when she comes in. And it's just so beautiful.
My dog is a rescue dog, and I got a DNA test done on her, and she is a cross between a Border Collie, which you can see straight away, and a Dachshund.
That's wild.
There you go. There you go.
She looks like a black fox. As a result of all of
But
this.
they're so intuitive, aren't they? My dog, my family dog, was really aloof, more like a cat, I'd say. It wasn't very cuddly. But then if you were upset, she'd come and sit right by you and cuddle you. It's like she knew you were sad.
They're just magic.
Brilliant.
They are magic.
Nikki, porridge. Here we are at breakfast time. I'm not sure how many people have porridge for breakfast, but it is a beautiful food, porridge, I think.
Oh, my goodness, it's just so underrated. I mean, we talk about the power of oats, but porridge is still kind of seen as sort of old-fashioned. You know, there's this trend for overnight oats and all this kind of rubbish. So just make yourself some porridge in the morning with a variety of
One of the
toppings.
reasons I think it's old-fashioned is it Quaker or is it Scots porridge oats?
Yes.
And they have the man throwing the shot put on the front.
Like the Highland
that's
cake.
it. Yeah.
And I think Well, that's a wrong image.
It's not really.
Just the packaging.
They're trying to make it seem like this is going to give you energy. But this is actually kind of what the whole point of the story is, which is that Team GB's main food doesn't matter if they're in France, so they're going to swap croissants for porridge, because porridge is brilliant for you.
It's absolutely
and it gives you that boost. It's so healthy. It's not full of rubbish.
And super cheap.
Slow release.
And really easy to make for a family. It's like a great food.
Team GB think it will enhance their medal prospects.
Well, if it's good enough for Team GB, it's good enough for the people of Britain, isn't it? So I reckon we should all eat more porridge.
And it's so versatile as well. You can put so many different toppings on your porridge.
You can have different porridge every day.
Yeah, exactly.
Right, Alex, let's talk about the asylum situation and the migration situation in Ireland, which has reached boiling point. And I think we're going to be discussing this on the programme again tomorrow. But illegal migrants, what does Labour plan to do?
Well, so we know now that they're going to basically give grant asylum to all of up to 90,000 people, we think, that have come to the UK looking for a new place to live, fleeing wars or many other places. But some people, of course, will argue that there's a few economic migrants in there as well. The question that I have is, this is not going to be the end. There are more people. There's 2,000 people that came over here the last few weeks since the Labour government took over. What happens to them? What do these people who get asylum, what are they going to do? Are they going to work? Where are they going to live? Our country is very crowded, particularly in cities. There's already a massive wait for hospitals and doctors and schools. Can we continue to do this? Can we sustainably house everybody that comes here for the next?
No, we can't.
No, we can't.
And however unpalatable it may sound or be, and I wouldn't wish to be uncaring, but Britain or Ireland cannot look after the ills of the rest of the world. We cannot
we can't.
Get it right. And we cannot keep saying, right, we need to get 80,000 people in work. Oh, but we'll take 70,000 asylum seekers in. Well, we'll give them the jobs first, or we'll give them the houses first, or we'll let them use the hospital facilities first.
Well, what it's doing, Eamonn, as we were talking about during the break, what it's doing is it's creating a lot of tension in communities. You're seeing Ireland erupting into chaos in small parts.
1,700 men were going to be placed in a place called Culloch.
That's right. Where I think the population would have grown by something like 30% overnight, something ridiculous like that. This is not the right way to do this. And it's going to continuously lead to situations where local communities feel overwhelmed. They don't feel consulted by politicians, despite them saying they do, which they don't. They build these new centres, and then you see crime happen, and then you get these mini civil wars happening across countries.
And also,
you can't keep doing this.
You know, being married to an immigrant and having a family of immigrants, what I think about is the immigrants that have come here through the legal routes, worked, contributed to the system, they then face prejudice
absolutely.
for just looking different. And so everybody loses as a result.
You're very empathetic, very sympathetic to that, Nikki. But I think Alex hits it on the head where he says, we cannot solve everybody else's problems. And as soon as the world wakes up to this, you've got to look after your own, not everybody else. And I'm all for international aid and all that sort of thing. But the asylum situation, somebody's going to have to make a stand somewhere. Yes. And that may be in Ireland. It may be, and that's why we're covering it again tomorrow.
Yes.
Guys, for the moment, thank you very much indeed. We'll return. We have lots more stories in 40 minutes' time.
Yeah, do keep your views coming in on any of the stories that we're talking about today. gbnews.com/yoursay. Lots of you getting in touch on schools. We will share them at the top of the hour, won't we? But first, let's have a look at your weather with Aidan McGibbon. Let's hope it's a sunny day today.
That warm feeling inside from Boxed Boilers, sponsors of weather on GB News.
Hello, a very good morning to you. Welcome to the latest forecast from the Met Office for GB News. Still some showers around today, but in between the showers there'll be a bit more sunshine compared with yesterday, and as a result it will feel a little warmer as well. Certainly a sunny start for Western Scotland, Northern Ireland, North West England, North Wales. Elsewhere, some cloud, some showers already from the word go. There'll be a few more developing through the morning and early afternoon. The odd sharp downpour. Otherwise, not everyone will see a shower. Away from them, with the sunshine feeling pleasant, with highs of 23 to 25 in the south, 18 to 22 further north. Then later in the day, the showers will tend to fade away. We're going to see a ridge of higher pressure build from the southwest, and that will allow plenty of evening sunshine across southern and southwestern parts of the UK. Temperatures during 5, 6 p.m. up into the high teens, low 20s, feeling very pleasant out there, and most of the showers by this stage easing away. So for the vast majority, it is a fine end to the day. Western Scotland looking beautiful actually at this stage, with highs of 15 to 18 Celsius. And we'll see clearing skies develop more widely overnight, although there will still be some patchy cloud, particularly for Northern Ireland, Western Scotland, for example. The vast majority will stay dry overnight, however, and whether you've got the clear spells or the cloud, well, it's going to be a relatively mild night with temperatures in the mid-teens in the south, 11 to 13 further north. So we start Wednesday with plenty of dry and bright weather, long spells of sunshine for many central, southern and eastern parts of the UK. I think there'll be some showers pushing into Western Scotland for a time, and there'll also be some showers developing across eastern parts of England, some heavy downpours by the afternoon here, but for many it will stay dry, and where we get the sunshine, warm once again, 25 or 26 Celsius. Make the most of it, because Thursday sees more rain arrive.
Looks like things are heating up. Boxed boilers, sponsors of weather on GB News.
The latest GB News travel.
Good morning, I'm Russell Holding. In the Highland, the A949 is closed each way between Spinningdale and Bonner Bridge after an accident. In South Yorkshire, the A61 remains closed along Barnsley Road at Mapplewell after an accident on Sunday afternoon. In Greater Manchester, the A676 remains closed along Deansgate in Bolton after a fire. In Staffordshire, on the A50, the westbound exit to the A5007 at Longton's closed with a shed load causing delays. In the West Midlands, the A41 is closed southbound along Soho Hill at Hockley, heading into Birmingham for an investigation. Trains heading out of Birmingham New Street to Leicester have been stopped because of a signalling problem. On the M25 in Hertfordshire, there's a lane closed anti-clockwise just after junction 19 at Watford after an accident, with queues from junction 21 for the M1. And in London on the North Circular, it's down to a single lane westbound for emergency repairs just after Bounds Green Road, with queues from the A10 at Edmonton.
You can stay up to date throughout the day by visiting our website, gbnews.com.
Don't miss your chance to win our Super Summer Giveaway. With your chance to win £30,000 cash, our biggest cash prize to date, which means you get to spend every single penny however you like. What plans would you make with an extra £30,000 cash in your bank account? Take your family on the ultimate holiday, buy that treat that's always seemed out of reach, or just put it in the bank for a later date. However you'd spend it, make sure you don't miss out. For another chance to win £30,000 in tax-free cash, text CASH to 63232. Text costs £2 plus one standard network rate message. You can enter online at gbnews.com/win. Entries cost £2, or post your name and number to GB07 PO Box 8690 Derby DE1 9TT. UK only. Entrants must be 18 or over. Lines close at 5 p.m. on the 30th of August. Please check the closing time if listening or watching on demand. Good luck.
If you want your news to be straight talking,
This is a nightmare for the Conservatives again.
down to earth,
It's not just Nottingham where this is happening, is it?
and most importantly, honest,
Hard-working, middle-class taxpayers, they'll get the book thrown at them.
then catch me, Martin Daubney, Monday to Friday, 3 till 6 p.m. on GB News, Britain's news channel.
Every Saturday, 10 till 12, we'll bring you all of the news that you need to know. We'll also remind you that there is so much to smile about.
It's my favourite time of the week. I get to relax, enjoy some light-hearted stories, and let Ellie teach me about fashion too.
That's Saturday Morning Live, every Saturday, 10 till 12.
Only on GB News, Britain's news channel.
We're proud to be GB News, the People's Channel, and as you know, we always love to hear your views. Now, there's a new way of getting in touch with us at gbnews.com/your say. By commenting, you can be part of a live conversation and join our GB News community. You can even talk to me, Bev Turner, or any of the members of the GB News family.
Hello there, very good morning to you. Kamala Harris takes to the campaign trail.
As she clinches enough delegates to earn her party's nomination.
Attention now turns to who she'll pick as her running mate.
The Conservatives prepare for a 3-month leadership battle as the contest to replace Rishi Sunak gets underway.
Prince Harry congratulates Birmingham as the city is confirmed to host the Invictus Games in 3 years' time.
Are we raising a generation of women haters? A disturbing new police report reveals the damning truth about online radicalisation.
Half of renters in England living in cold, damp or mouldy homes. So, we are debating whether landlords are too greedy. Your views welcome.
A few showers around today, but actually plenty of sunshine in between the downpours. It's going to feel a bit warmer as well. I'll have the full forecast coming up very soon.
Hello there, very good morning to you. Just after 8 o'clock on this Tuesday morning, I'm Eamonn Holmes.
And I'm Ellie Costello, and this is GB News Breakfast.
Situation, we're talking about school holidays and parents just taking their kids out of school and what, if anything, should be done from that. We were hearing from a headmaster earlier who was saying the disruption that causes in classrooms for exam timetables, etc. The work just doesn't go away. The work has to be completed. Teachers have to spend more time with those pupils who've gone on holiday, and therefore other pupils lose out, and there's consequences to everything. Jason says the government should force holiday companies to spread the costs throughout the year, as the public feel that they're being ripped off otherwise.
No, that's a really good point. Debbie's making the same point that you just made, that Chris referred to earlier. I'm a teacher in a secondary school and sixth form. I think parents should be fined even more. The children miss so much. A 2-week holiday can mean that a child misses a whole module of a GCSE course. Then the parents expect me to stay behind after school to help their child catch up. I've even had to do a few Saturdays to help those children catch up who have taken a holiday.
Stephen says years ago the government said they were going to stop travel agents from trebling the price of holidays during school holidays, and that would stop parents taking their kids out of school during term time. What happened to that? What happened to that indeed?
Yeah, there should maybe be an onus on the travel companies then, because they're profiteering, aren't they, on school holidays, ramping up the prices.
Yeah. We begin in America. Vice President Kamala Harris looks increasingly certain to become the Democratic Party's nominee after she gained enough backing from the party to rule out other serious contenders.
Yes, reports coming out overnight say that Harris is now eyeing up a white male running mate to boost her chances in key battleground states.
Joined now by former diplomat under George W. Bush, Professor Colleen Graffy. Very good to see you, Colleen.
Good to see you.
Good morning.
Well, Kamala Harris, when we were talking at the weekend, was like a no-hoper, and now the idea seems to be, well, she's raised $81 million in 2 days, and a lot of celebs and high-profile people are putting their names behind her. Is the picture changing for her?
It's season 2. It's a new cast, and Kamala Harris has come out as a clear not only the front runner, but she basically has the nomination lined up. That makes it very easy for the Democrats, because rather than having a contention between the governors and so on, the governors have all folded to say, we're endorsing you, and it means that she has access to not only the funding, but also the whole campaign team from Biden. So it's a very smooth transition with all of these Democrats saying they're endorsing her. We're not going to have a competition. And now the question is, who's going to be the vice presidential candidate? And she is able to speak on things that Biden has not really been comfortable doing, and that is women's reproductive rights. Biden is a strong Catholic. He didn't like saying the word abortion, but she can be out there front and center talking about women's reproductive rights. And she's also neatly juxtaposed a prosecutor against a convicted felon. And also, whereas Trump seemed spry compared to Biden, now Trump, in a flash, looks old, looks worn. He's got this J.D. Vance who's talking about women who don't have children don't care about the future of America, and that's just not going to go down very well. So she's going to have, I think, a very strong backing. And you already see memes coming out about the coconut tree. You're going to have to get up to scratch on that. And Charlie XCX and Brat, she's the new Brat. And so when you have memes going, you know the young generation.
You've lost me. Coconut trees.
You'll hear all about this.
Young people are behind her.
Okay.
Yeah, young people are behind. And yes, you've got it in one.
But she's got her work cut out, hasn't she, Colleen? Because she's got to convince a sceptical party that she is the only choice at this point, because, as you say, she's the only one that can access that fund, can't she? Is this going to be a coronation? Because we've got silence from Barack Obama, haven't we? Would that suggest that perhaps we could see Michelle Obama come in the next couple of weeks? Or do you think this is...
That game's over. That game's over. Well, and also the delegates have all come in. It was very neatly done. All of the delegates who had been pledged to Biden have now pledged to her. And there's going to be a roll call vote beginning in August, between August 1st and 2nd somewhere, where they will formally be nominating her even before the convention, because she needs to go on the ballot in Ohio. So, and also, not only does she have that war chest inherited from Biden, but as you heard, $81 million came in within the first 24 hours. So I wouldn't say it's a coronation. I would say there is a groundswell for her, and people are very excited about that.
I also think that it makes the race more exciting.
Very so.
Suddenly, instead of two old men standing over a microphone, you've now got a woman, and a woman who's very different in many ways. And how will Donald Trump cope with her?
Well, she's already come right out of the box saying, I've dealt with predators, fraudsters, and cheaters before, and they look just like Donald Trump. So as a prosecutor, she can say those sort of things. And he's going to be on the back foot. But Trump, as we all know, is always on the offense. And so I'm sure he'll be coming out trying to define her in negative ways. But it will be, as you say, a very interesting race.
Professor Colin Graffy, thank you very much indeed. Thank you.
Now to politics here, and the new Tory party leader will be announced on the 2nd of November, the party is confirmed, with nominations opening tomorrow.
This morning we're hearing everyone from James Cleverly, who will be on the programme after 9 o'clock today, to Suella Braverman. They're gearing up to announce their leadership campaigns.
But the question is, who's in with a shot? And who's dreaming? Well, joining us now is former Minister for Immigration, Kevin Foster. Very good morning to you, Kevin.
Morning.
Who do you think should be the next Tory party leader? Put you on the spot.
Well, for me, I hope Priti runs. I've worked with her in the Home Office. She's got a wealth of experience, held virtually every role in the party, because, our next leader is going to take on an immense challenge. Just to be heard will be one of the biggest challenges, because the last leadership race, the person was going to be Prime Minister the day they became leader. This time it's going to be very different, facing over 400 Labour MPs each week.
What way does the nomination lineup equate? How does it sort of sort itself out? Because you could have 10 people running, for goodness sake, but how many will realistically come to the fore?
I think really the way the rules have been set out show what's expected. There are probably 4 clear front runners, and I think we could already start guessing some of those names from some of the people you've already mentioned, already seen in the media. They'll then be over the summer trying to make their case, probably hoping in particular that MPs will be at home in the constituencies, listening to their members, hearing what they have to say, and then in September go down to the final 2.
Kevin, you see, I think one of the big issues now, and this is coming to light in Ireland this week, we've been doing a lot of coverage on this. This is the illegal immigration situation, where people fly into Ireland, or they can come through the UK or whatever, and they basically get on a plane from Africa and they rip up their passport as they come into Ireland, and then they claim asylum and whatever. And it's at a breaking point. Ireland really seems to be a breaking point over this, and a lot of people identify with it over here. Now, you were an immigration minister, you were the Minister for Immigration. Headline in the front of the Daily Mail today: now Labour opens the door to give asylum to 70,000 people.
Yeah, I think many people looking at the front pages will be stunned, but this is the sort of thing you get presented when you walk into the Home Office. Look, we've got a great idea that will get the backlog down and solve. You can fast process. Now, that sounds great, doesn't it? Fast process. So people think, oh, they're going to be removed. No. What will almost certainly happen is you and I could go and clear the backlog in the Home Office if we went in the morning, if we went in with a rubber stamp mark approved. And that's pretty much what this will be. But what's really going to be devastating about this is being announced just at the start of the summer season. They've taken out the Rwanda policy, so there's no prospect now of returning people to a third country or taking people to a third country anytime soon. There's no prospect of returns to places like Syria, and France refuses the returns of those who've crossed the Channel. So this is about the worst way of ensuring that the people smugglers have a busy summer, because we're saying you get the reward and there's no real deterrent.
What are we going to do to take care of what is going on? The Rwanda ain't going to happen. What is any other credible alternative to get these numbers down? Because we've said it on the programme, we're getting reaction to it, which is basically the UK or Ireland or whatever, we cannot on our own solve world migration problems, and they really are. They're caused by climate change, they're caused by economic, they're caused by wars. Why is it our problem?
Well, it can't be our problem to deal with what there's an estimated 80 million to 100 million people displaced around the world. Clearly, the UK cannot deal with that on our own. And similarly, we actually do have a good record around safe and legal routes. You can look at what we did with Ukraine, what we've done with Hong Kong, and what we've done with resettlement routes around, for example, Syrian refugees from the Middle East. So we actually do our bit. It's now about how do we deal with those who are already in a safe and democratic country want to move to another safe and democratic, to make a choice about where they claim asylum, rather than the fact that they haven't reached somewhere that's safe and democratic. I must say, that's not just a challenge we're facing. You've touched on Ireland is facing exactly the same, as is most of the EU.
Kevin, what I would worry about, what you're seeing in Ireland, and you're seeing people attacking police, you're seeing riots, you're seeing factories being set on fire, whatever, which is supposed to house these asylum seekers. Surely we are not far away from this happening in England.
Well, let's remember, we've only not that long ago had disorder in Leeds and other areas. So there's certainly, for me, there needs to be clear solutions to this, and they're going to have to be based on countries that have managed to deal with this problem. And Australia was the example we looked to. We looked at the impact there, and that's why, for example, things like a third country deal is necessary. But even if you're a third country looking at whether you should do business with the UK, if you look at what the current government, the Labour Party, has said all about Rwanda all the way through, you're going to be quite reticent to sign up a deal with them.
OK. Kevin, got to leave it there. Thanks for your views. Really appreciate it. Kevin Foster. He is a former Minister for Immigration.
Now, 12 minutes past 8, let's have a look at some other stories coming into the newsroom this morning. An 11-year-old Poppy Roller has been orphaned after her mother, father and sisters were killed in a horror crash tragedy on Sunday afternoon. The family members died along with another man and a woman when their car collided with a motorbike. A GoFundMe page has now raised £185,000 to help support the 11-year-old girl.
Cases of violence against women and girls have risen by a staggering 40% since 2018. This is according to a report by the National Police Chiefs Council. It comes as a senior police officer has warned a rise in women hating is partially down to the influence of internet personalities, such as the controversial YouTuber Andrew Tate.
And the BBC's head of entertainment is allegedly fighting for her job following the controversy surrounding Strictly Come Dancing. The reports come just hours after Strictly Pro Jeanette Manrara denied accusations her training left Paralympian Will Bailey with a lifelong injury.
OK, let's take a breather now and stick our nose outdoors and find out what the weather's going to do. Here's Aidan.
A brighter outlook with Box Solar, sponsors of weather on GB News.
Hello, a very good morning to you. Welcome to the latest forecast from the Met Office for GB News. Still some showers around today, but in between the showers there'll be a bit more sunshine compared with yesterday, and as a result it will feel a little warmer as well. Certainly a sunny start for Western Scotland, Northern Ireland, North West England, North Wales. Elsewhere, some cloud, some showers already from the word go. There'll be a few more developing through the morning and early afternoon. The odd sharp downpour. Otherwise, not everyone will see a shower. Away from them, with the sunshine feeling pleasant, with highs of 23 to 25 in the south, 18 to 22 further north. Then later in the day, the showers will tend to fade away. We're going to see a ridge of higher pressure build from the southwest, and that will allow plenty of evening sunshine across southern and southwestern parts of the UK. Temperatures during 5, 6 p.m. up into the high teens, low 20s, feeling very pleasant out there, and most of the showers by this stage easing away. So for the vast majority, it is a fine end to the day. Western Scotland looking beautiful actually at this stage, with highs of 15 to 18 Celsius. And we'll see clearing skies develop more widely overnight, although there will still be some patchy cloud, particularly for Northern Ireland, Western Scotland, for example. The vast majority will stay dry overnight, however, and whether you've got the clear spells or the cloud, well, it's going to be a relatively mild night with temperatures in the mid-teens in the south, 11 to 13 further north. So we start Wednesday with plenty of dry and bright weather, long spells of sunshine for many central, southern and eastern parts of the UK. I think there'll be some showers pushing into Western Scotland for a time, and there'll also be some showers developing across eastern parts of England, some heavy downpours by the afternoon here, but for many it will stay dry, and where we get the sunshine, warm once again, 25 or 26 Celsius. Make the most of it, because Thursday sees more rain arrive.
That warm feeling inside from Boxed Boilers, sponsors of weather on GB News.
Now, some good news for you this morning.
Very good news.
Very good news.
Very, very good news.
There's still plenty of time to grab your chance to win £30,000 in the Great British Giveaway. It's tax-free as well.
Just run that past me again.
£30,000.
30 grand. Goodness
30
me.
grand. What would you do with that?
Well, spend it. Here we go. Here's how you could be yours.
Don't miss your chance to win our Super Summer Giveaway. With your chance to win £30,000 cash, our biggest cash prize to date, which means you get to spend every single penny however you like. What plans would you make with an extra £30,000 cash in your bank account? Take your family on the ultimate holiday, buy that treat that's always seemed out of reach, or just put it in the bank for a later date. However you'd spend it, make sure you don't miss out. For another chance to win £30,000 in tax-free cash, text CASH to 63232. Text costs £2 plus one standard network rate message. You can enter online at gbnews.com/win. Entries cost £2, or post your name and number to GB07 PO Box 8690 Derby DE1 9TT. UK only. Entrants must be 18 or over. Lines close at 5 p.m. on the 30th of August. Please check the closing time if listening or watching on demand. Good luck.
Up next, if you rent your property, we are going to be debating our landlords, the greediest people in the country. People say poor landlords who maintain good properties, but what about the ones that don't maintain good properties, and it appears there are just too many of them. Back with that after this.
Sunday with Michael Portillo from 11, only on GB News.
Stefan Kyriazis has, as always, been in theatres. He's here to tell us of his experiences. Hello, Stefan, or should I say, hello, Dolly.
Well, hello, Michael.
Well, hello.
You're looking swell, Michael. I can tell, Michael. You're still glowing, you're crowing, and you're going strong. So I have been to see Hello, Dolly at the Palladium. It's on there until September.
Seems like you've enjoyed it.
It is absolutely pure joy. I think we've even got a little bit of footage just to get people in the mood of the curtain call. But it is just sublime joy, headlined by Imelda Staunton. Let's see if we've got a little clip for everybody to look at.
It was a great show, was it?
It's a feel-good show? Absolute bliss. So 1964 musical, music and lyrics by Jerry Herman. 1969 famous Barbra Streisand film. But it's been played by Carol Channing, Ethel Merman, Bette Midler, all these people, Danny LaRue. So the joy of this show, it's so traditional, but you have an old woman leading the show, and then Irene Malloy, who's another slightly younger widow in New York, the hat maker. Orchestration's gorgeous, masked voice is gorgeous. Big train, kind of cut-out train, fills the stage. They all climb on board. It builds towards the end. You get the big Hello, Dolly number, and the whole she did there. Wow, 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 fellas. Look at the old girl now. Staunton is 68, I think. She's 5 foot nothing. The audience kept applauding through the show. She stood there was a moment. We all felt such joy.
The People's Channel.
Good afternoon, Britain.
Your lunchtime update on the stories that matter across the UK.
From breaking news and insightful analysis, inspiring stories and lively debates. You're comparing yourself to a former Prime Minister.
Which is it?
Stay informed, stay updated, stay entertained.
I just don't know how anyone would not want to be there.
Every weekday from midday.
We are Good Afternoon Britain, only on GB News.
Britain's news channel.
Tune in to Friday Night Live with me, Mark Dolan. GB News royalty with your perfect start to the weekend. Lucky us! Feisty and fearless guests.
Well, I'm a normal person, so ask me.
Honest opinions that raises more questions than a Gary Barlow tax return. And a few surprises along the way. Might be cold in this studio. That is Friday Night Live with me, Mark Dolan. 8 to 9, only on GB News, the People's Channel, Britain's news channel.
Well, according to Citizens Advice, almost half of renters in this country are living in homes that are cold, homes that are damp, homes that are mouldy. You see, this would get me. If I was a landlord, it would be a matter of pride for me to make sure, is everything okay for you? Is this all right? But then, am I the fool on that?
No, I think you're a nice person.
Well,
but I think
everybody talks about the profit and what they can earn out of things, but surely you also have a duty of care and service as well.
But landlords get away with it, don't they?
They seem to get away with it, yeah. So
renters are start paying higher amounts than ever before as well. Average rent outside of London reaching £1,300 per month. I think inside London it's almost 2,000.
4,000.
Really?
Absolutely. London is complete rip-off capital of the world, it has to be said. Joining us now, the founder and chief executive of the Youth Vote UK. We say good morning to Alexander Cairns, and there beside him is the chief executive of the National Residential Landlords Association, Ben Beadle. Now, Ben, the thing is, a lot of people making up your organisation or part of your organisation. Well, let's say I'm not saying your organisation. I'm just saying landlords. Why? There's a lot of them giving you a bad name. That's what I'm trying to say.
Yeah, I wouldn't disagree with that, Eamonn. I think the vast majority of landlords would be exactly as you characterised at the outset, wanting to take pride in the properties that they hand over, and that's actually borne out by the satisfaction that we see in the sector. 82% of tenants are satisfied with their housing compared to 74% in the social housing sector. But it's clear there are some challenges in the sector, and those landlords that aren't providing a decent service occasionally get away with it because local authorities have been decimated in terms of funding and are not able to bring bad landlords to book. And you're absolutely right, that minority of landlords will bring the sector into disrepute.
But Alex, I'm sure you're going to say that a lot of landlords are in it for themselves and nobody else.
Yeah, good morning, both. I'm going to say that, and I don't know if I agree with the statement, the minority. I think the vast majority of landlords are in it for themselves. I think we've seen that the average UK landlord has about 8.6 properties. About 40% of them live on that income, and about a further 40% have been able to reduce their hours and live off some of that income. I mean, the state of the country at the moment, we see 45% of private renters that are living in damp, cold, or really poor conditions. 20% have actually said they've gone without hot water, and about 40% have literally said that they've had to borrow money because their rent has gone up.
How do they get away with it then? How do they get away with it? I mean, my main question is, before we even get to the private landlord situation, there is a responsibility on local authorities, on government, which everyone seems to shirk, that there should be social housing. There should be public social housing, and it is an absolute disgrace, the lack of it in this country.
Yeah, I absolutely agree, Eamonn. Like, the reality is there isn't a solution at the moment. We see lots, especially most of the under 40 demographic in this country, that can't afford, to buy. At the moment, when we survey under 40, about 26% of them have been able to get a mortgage. That's basically 3/4 that are renting or have had to move back with mum and dad. The situation is absolutely dire. And this is not a party political point, actually, because Labour and the Tories over, we're talking 20 years, have not built enough houses. There was only 63,000 houses built last year in the whole of the country. So more needs to be done. But the point is, for the landlords, they have a duty of care. We see over 100 no-fault evictions every single day in this country, which is an absolute disgrace. And landlords are very, very quick when they get a bigger offer to decide, you know what, the tenant is not paying us enough, let's move them on. And that's absolutely disgraceful as well.
Ben, the system is broken, isn't it?
Yeah, I think it could do with a nip and a tuck, and obviously successive governments have promised to do that. I do think we need regulation of the sector, but just to challenge one or two of those points, the vast majority of landlords have one or two properties. 45% typically will have one or two properties. They will have that as an investment for their retirement. And as Eamonn said at the outset, I do think that the vast majority will be setting out to look after their tenants. And the question was, are landlords the greediest Britons? And my answer to that is absolutely not. I think we have to look at the Savills report. So if you look at this, landlord profits are at their lowest since 2007. UK finance.
But Ben, does that not mean that you and Alexander have a lot in common with the standard that you actually want, and therefore isn't it in everyone's interest to persecute, to drive out the cowboys in all of this?
It absolutely is, and I think we are very supportive of the introduction of a decent homes standard, a digital register so that tenants can make an informed decision about the properties that they're moving into. We're not here to defend sharp or poor practice. We're here to contribute to the debate in terms of what we're seeing with high rents. Yeah. And the core reason that rents are going up is simply we don't have enough homes. We've flogged off social housing and we've not replaced it.
Gentlemen, do you know what I think? The programme Homes Under the Hammer, which really should have been presented by me.
You'd be good at that,
Well, it has my name written all over it, hasn't it?
It does.
Homes Under the Hammer. But anyway, Alexander and Ben, what I see there is, people who take over these dilapidated, awful, hideous properties, and you think, oh, that'll never make anything, and it's full of all the mould we're talking about and whatever. And they put them right with a relatively reasonable amount of money. They put them right. And surely that is something that we could hold up to people and say, look, here's the way you can do this and you can still make money and the families can be happy and everything can be all right in all of this. But the greed factor seems to take over and the idea that people don't have standards.
Well, I don't know that I would necessarily agree with that. We want to encourage investment, but actually what we're seeing is a cooling of the private rented sector and no tangible encouragement for the social housing sector. We have on average 17 inquiries available per home to rent, and that's just not sustainable. We need to encourage investment and we need to grow the market in all sectors.
But Alex, Ben is totally right, isn't he, in the sense that this all comes down to the lack of housing in this country.
Well, I don't know if he's totally right. I think the fact that we're not building enough houses is an issue. But as you just said there, if there's 17 offers, what will landlords do? They'll look at that thinking, let's take the highest bid. So then we see lots, especially young people, that have to actually spend a long time, very stressed, thinking about how they're going to make their bid the highest, make sure that they get that particular room or property. And then it's an absolute ridiculous situation where people feel constantly stressed that every year when their landlord says, okay, we've got a higher offer, you're going to have to move on, they're thinking, how can I get more and more money? Which is why we see more and more of them having to move back with mum and dad because they can't afford it, especially in London. So, landlords have a duty of care. And I actually think if you surveyed, I don't know that we would find a minority of bad landlords. I actually think there's a lot of bad eggs and actually think there's a lot of greed in this sector. And of course, the gentleman on the line is not going to agree with that. But I think proof's in the pudding. When we speak to a lot of young people around the country, I can't name you one that said, actually, I've got a really good landlord that cares about us. No, they just care about making sure their rent goes up and they get the maximum amount of profit. That's what they care about.
OK, Alexander and Ben, thank you both very much indeed. Very, very interesting listening to both of you, and we hope for both your sakes and for all our sakes that the situation gets better. Thank you very much indeed. I speak as a council house boy, born and bred and raised, and we're very, very lucky. Our house was rented from the Northern Ireland Housing Executive. And all I remember is they would come and they would replace your windows, they would replace your front door, they would, if there was something needed done to the house, it would happen. So we were kept in a very acceptable standard of living. Never once really thought
but that's not too much to ask for, is it?
I don't think so, but that's the whole point of having a respectable organisation running what you do, and not these cowboys who are in to make a quick buck and whatever. And that, I think, people who hand licences to these landlords and say, right, you can give these out to 5 families and whatever, and if the standard is not acceptable in one of those houses, it won't be acceptable in any of them, and people are therefore victims to landlords like this. I can only say, if it was me, if I was the landlord, I'd be setting a standard, but then I wouldn't be making as much money as I should have. And was it Ben there was saying that the standard of money, or the level of money you can make, is not as it should be. Yeah. But what it should be, just getting back to this is a state responsibility. This is a responsibility of the central government, make it the obligation of local authorities, and it shouldn't be. It should be the standard obligation of central government to provide social housing for people who live in the country and can't afford to buy.
No, and nobody should be going without heating, hot water, living in mould.
Oh, the mould situation, the damp up the walls and all that nonsense, it's really, really ghastly. And then you can argue, of course, the reason there's so much pressure on social housing is that there are too many people in the country. You could argue that that is the case, but argue all you want and argue with us, have your say. This is what you do. It's GB... I don't know what it is.
GBNews.com/your-say.
/have your say. That's it. Have your say. We'll be glad to reflect it. More stories, Alex and Nikki, right after this.
The latest GB News travel.
Good morning, I'm Russell Holding. In the Highland, the A949 is closed each way between Spinningdale and Bonner Bridge after an accident. On the M62 in West Yorkshire, there's a lane closed westbound, but someone has a puncture between junctions 32 and 31 from Pontefract to Castleford. In South Yorkshire, the A61 remains closed along Barnsley Road at Mapplewell after an accident. In Greater Manchester, the A676 remains closed along Deansgate in Bolton after a fire. In Staffordshire on the A50, the westbound exit to the A5007 at Longton's closed because of a shed load, taking 20 minutes in the queues. In the West Midlands, the A41 is closed southbound along Soho Hill into Birmingham at Hockley because of an investigation. Train services are suspended eastbound from Birmingham New Street to Leicester because of a points failure. In London on the North Circular, it's down to a single lane westbound for repairs just after Bounds Green Road, with queues towards there from the A10 at Edmonton. And that's the latest.
You can stay up to date throughout the day by visiting our website, gbnews.com.
Hi there, I'm Michelle Dewberry, and I'm going to take a second to tell you all about my show, Dubes & Co. We start off with the issues of the day. We then bring in both sides of the arguments. We get rid of the disrespect, and then you throw me into the mix. And trust me, I'll tell it exactly how it is. And then, of course, the magic ingredient, you at home. We mix it all together, and what have we got? In my opinion, the best debate show in town. Monday to Friday, 6 till 7 on GB News, Britain's news channel.
Join me, Neil Oliver, every Sunday night at 6 p.m. on GB News. And if an hour is not nearly enough for you, go to gbnews.com for special extended episodes online every Friday at 9 p.m, where we can truly get into the nitty-gritty of what's going on. GB News, Britain's news channel.
In the GB Newsroom, we bring you the news as it happens.
With our team of dedicated journalists across the UK,
GB News brings you accurate reporting of the day's topical agenda.
When the news breaks, wherever and whenever it's happening,
we'll be there.
This is GB News,
the People's Channel,
Britain's news channel.
We're proud to be GB News, the People's Channel. And as you know, we always love to hear your views. Now, there's a new way of getting in touch with us at gbnews.com/your-say. By commenting, you can be part of a live conversation and join our GB News community. You can even talk to me, Bev Turner, or any of the members of the GB News family.
Mark Dolan tonight is your weekend dose of news, debate and entertainment.
This sounds like a wild conspiracy theory.
Don't miss my big opinion. Mark Meets and my take at 10.
Democracy is a funny old thing.
And we don't do boring, not on my watch. I just won't have it.
Go and get another glass of that bubbly. You've earned it.
That's Mark Dolan tonight, Saturday and Sunday, 9 to 11, only on GB News, the People's Channel, Britain's news channel.
Some breaking news for you in the past few moments. Andy Murray has announced he's going to retire from tennis after competing at the 2024 Paris Olympics. He's just written on X saying, "Arrived in Paris for my last ever tennis tournament. Competing for Team GB has been by far the most memorable weeks of my career, and I'm extremely proud to get to do it one final time." He's planning to compete in the singles and doubles in Paris. This will be his 5th Games.
Alex Armstrong, Nicky Hodgson joined us in the studio with their views on that story and other stories in the papers. It was inevitable, guys, really. What happened at Queen's Club and what happened at Wimbledon, his body just basically was giving up, wasn't it?
Yeah, and it's such a shame we didn't get to see him in one more Wimbledon.
Yeah.
You know, and of course, Emma Raducanu had to drop out as the doubles, which was a real shame. I think everyone was disappointed he didn't get that last breath in Wimbledon, but if he's going to, is he competing in Paris? Is that what he's?
Yeah.
He's going to
well, that's
compete.
good. We'll see
His
him on
last
the
ever
court.
tennis tournament. Yeah.
Great. Well, we'll see him on that at least, and that's a nice send-off for him, I hope. But what a star! I mean, what a star! He has done something that we didn't think possible. But the days of Tim Henman, where he was, you know, we couldn't win a Wimbledon, could we? And then he comes and wins 2, completely out of the blue, which was always fantastic to see. And he'll go down as one of the tennis greats for sure.
Well, of course he will.
And a Scottish one as well.
Of course.
What people forget is that he went to the school in Dunblane where the massacre,
Yes, he did. Yeah.
massacre took place, him and his brother. And he's quite a quiet guy. He was quite introverted, but very emotional. And you could see then he would show his whole emotions when he would win titles like Wimbledon singles, whatever. And his mother is the most divine woman. I used to, and I've told her this, I used to watch Judy and say, oh, look at that, she's very hard-faced and she will drive him on like this and that, whatever. And then you realise it's just the way she was concentrating. Yeah. A lovely woman and a lovely family all round, and we wish him all the best. It'd be interesting to see what he does with his life after that.
Absolutely.
Tennis or...
I'm sure a big fashion brand, maybe a sports brand, something that they like to do after they leave tennis. What I'm really interested in is who is his successor as a male British tennis player. I don't know who that is at the moment. I'm not familiar enough.
Norrie?
Maybe. But well, we'll see.
We'll have
we need
to
Hoisty
see.
here for that.
Yeah, big boots to fill, that's for sure.
Alex, here is a story. Alex and Nicky, I know you've both got views on this one, but a conspiracy theorist is being sued by 2 survivors of the Manchester Arena bombing.
Yeah.
Tell us about this story.
So the survivors, of course, were very upset by comments made by a self-described journalist called Richard Hall. He has called the whole thing a fake, a sort of, what's it called, some sort of flag, a false flag attack. And this is really interesting because the courts have actually ruled in his favour and has said that he's perfectly entitled to his view on this. Now, I believe there might be a bit of double standards here because we would never make the same accusations about other serious things that happen in the world and in this country. We'd never make the accusation, of course, that the Holocaust was faked, for example, and there's some people that do.
Yeah,
and if you do,
deep trouble.
you'll be in very deep trouble for that. So we really do need to have a line here when we say, what is it about British free speech that we agree is going too far and is going to really damage people who've lost their lives or lost loved ones?
Yeah.
And you know, that attack on the Manchester Arena, many children and young people lost their lives.
I'm thinking as well about, Alex Jones, the case of Alex Jones in America, when he was in denial of the Sandy Hook massacre, and the families that successfully sued him for millions of dollars in damages. I was doing the papers I was live on air when Sandy Hook happened, I remember, and I had to cover it, and it was just abominable. But surely, America with its First Amendment that absolutely enshrines the right to free speech and effectively deny facts, if that's what you want to do, You know, that case showed that actually there is a line and you can't just say whatever you want with no consequences. So I'm very curious as to how this has been ruled this way around. It's very,
and
very
the consequences
interesting.
of it.
Yes,
consequences. I mean, it's really shocking stuff for people to believe this in the first place, despite all the evidence to say that. I mean, some of the quotes here, like a hoax, crisis actors being used. These are children. You don't have crisis children
It makes
actors.
no sense at all.
It really is completely balmy. You know, it really does something. It makes me feel a certain way.
Yes, me too.
And I really do think this is a serious misjudgment if that's the case. But of course, we'll hear more shortly as this court case goes on. So,
Nikki, bring us up to speed on Strictly Come Dancing and its future. Because it just keeps getting bigger and bigger, doesn't it, this scandal?
I mean, obviously the BBC desperately want it to go away and are hoping that people just kind of go on their summer holidays or something else happens in politics that will distract from it. But the problem has been that for a few months now we've had these rumours about some of the Strictly dancers treating some of the contestants very poorly, in some cases with physical violence and generally just kind of not been very kind to them. And it's been rumbling for a long time. There's been lots of rumours about it for a long time. It feels like Strictly is having its Love Island moment. And obviously the execs are desperate to keep it because it's a 20-year show that brings in a lot of viewers still.
Yeah.
But maybe it's just time to pull the plug. When a brand becomes this tarnished, what do you do?
But do you think this is just nonsense publicity? Because I think they're just trying to drum it up. I mean, how do you keep a show like this going with the same publicity every single year? And I just feel like they plant these stories sometimes to go, let's get something juicy so everyone tunes in to see the drama unfold.
And I don't think that.
They'll never pull that
The first
show.
rule, actually, of good PR is that bad publicity is like no publicity.
Is good publicity.
No, that's not
right?
true. That's absolutely not true when you ever do PR, and I've done a few stints in it. And I think what's important is that the stories have been coming from the contestants and people that have worked on the shows. It doesn't feel like a setup to me.
But there are big questions to ask here of the BBC because we had John Sargent on the show on Saturday talking about how all of the rehearsals, you're wearing a microphone, all of the rehearsals are filmed, so the bosses at the BBC would have been all too aware of what was going on in these rehearsals. If there was violence, if there was abuse, if there was bullying going on, why was this not picked up on before? Why has it taken years for these celebrities to come out?
Because somebody would have to complain about it, right? So they get hours of tape. They're not going to watch it. They're not going to listen to it. They're not going to watch it. But only if someone then brought it up would it be referred to.
There'd be a formal grievance process, wouldn't there? And it would take stages to go through. And if you're in a contest, that's the least of your problems.
And then you've got the likes of Zara McDermott, TV star, who says she couldn't say, or she felt like she couldn't say anything because it's such a beloved show.
Absolutely.
And your career as well. Would you be invited back? I think that's what a lot of these people ask themselves.
Well, this is what's happening now, that the standard dancers who are there for 3 or 4 or 5 years, the company doesn't like this, that they'll ask for more money, that their profiles will increase, that they think they have power. Heaven forbid that as a performer you would have power or actually know what you're talking about in TV terms. But there's talk that they'll change the professionals every single year and you won't have sort of favourites like that. But the other problem they have is that they're taking in trained dancers, people from stage school, people from stage shows, whatever. And I think you should just have people basically who are idiots like me, who come on there and do what they do. And if you improve, you improve. And if you don't, and if you're a
I think that makes better telly.
I agree with you.
I think so too.
I totally agree.
Yeah.
I don't really want to see them being superb and fantastic, but I want to see them improving.
Yes.
And a bit of a
or
journey.
making mistakes, either way.
I mean, John, I love John. I get to see him here every Friday, but I mean, he himself admits he wasn't the best dancer. I mean,
that's amazing.
By all evidence.
Stomping around.
But he was prepared to put himself out there, which is what it's all about,
Then
right?
he bowed out gracefully.
Yeah, good for him.
Well, listen, you two bow out gracefully, but keep talking after the break, or should that be keep talking, Alex and Nick?
Join me, Camilla Tominey, for a frank and honest discussion with those in power that cuts through the spin and gets to the heart of the issues shaping our nation.
You haven't confirmed that you want to stand as leader, but you haven't ruled it out either.
This report basically says that he's not fit to stand trial. Is he indecisive? Incompetent?
I deliver the dose of reality Westminster needs. That's the Camilla Tominey Show at 9:30 every Sunday on GB News, the People's Channel, Britain's news channel.
Sunday with Michael Portillo from 11, only on GB News.
You're making me think. You were here last week talking about The Merry Widow at Glyndebourne, which I went to see last night. And it was much the same thing. I mean, musically, it doesn't rate, to me, much higher than a musical. But the professionalism of the delivery, the joy of the cast, therefore the joy of the audience, the absolute charisma of Daniel Denise singing and dancing in the main role, absolutely superb. So just to recollect that. And by the way, how long does Hello, Dolly?
That's on until September the 14th. And I would say there's been some bumpy, like My Fair Lady, sort of traditional musicals have sort of wobbled quite a bit recently, even The King and I a bit. This one nails everything. I cannot recommend it highly enough. I came out humming and beaming for the rest of the night. And the second one is The Baker's Wife, complete opposite. Small show at the Meunier Chocolate Factory. And again, we've got bootleg illegal footage of me, I think, just to give, because you need to see the setting of this place. It's completely incredible what they've done in a small space. Hopefully we've got a little bit of my illegal video again. It's set up like a 1930s Provence village square. You can see the cafe there at one end. At the other end is the bread shop, the bakery. The walls are all painted like brick. There's shutters everywhere, posters. People pop out of shutters that you don't even know how they are. We're sat either side. And it's a Stephen Schwartz musical. So he's the guy behind Wicked, Pippin, things like that. But it's still kind of joyous and fun until the marquis of the village, who has 3 nieces, comes along with his manservant who sweeps her away. And then for me, I didn't like how the story turns. I don't think it works anymore in a modern day.
The People's Channel.
I'm Patrick Christie's. Every weeknight from 9, I bring you 2 hours of unmissable, explosive debate and headline-grabbing interviews. What impact has that had?
We got death threats and the bomb threat and so on.
As time passes,
She could have said storm.
you made my argument for me. My guest and I tackle the issues that really matter with a sharp take on every story.
Went everywhere.
Something practical could be done.
Or I can become something different.
Patrick Christie's tonight from 9 p.m. only on GB News, Britain's news channel.
We're talking about Sunday roasts now, aren't we, with Nikki Hodgson and Alex Armstrong. And Alex, apparently the roast is toast.
I know. I can't believe it. I love a Sunday roast.
Yes.
But supposedly we are, as
in
a
the
country,
minority.
We are, because apparently people aren't doing Sunday roasts anymore. They're ditching it.
No. They're not cooking it anymore because it's a lot of dishes and a lot of hassle, a lot of prep. But they are buying it and they are eating it, and I bet you they're going to pubs.
In the pubs.
Yeah.
So this is what me and Nikki were talking about in the green room, actually, because I said it's actually quite a lot to make a roast, and people getting a bit more. I'm
clean up afterwards.
Yeah, I'm certainly a bit lazy with cooking and that sort of stuff. But supposedly we are dropping the Sunday roast cooking at home for fish and chips, curry.
On Sunday.
Yeah.
No,
fish and chips, hang
It
on.
is sacrilege.
No,
or even lasagna.
No.
No, we're all against that.
The only thing that is slightly acceptable is a Sunday night curry, if you've had a heavy weekend.
Any night curry.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, in my house, definitely.
Gee, sorry, can I just ask you something? Yes, I have been ridiculed for this in the past by people close to me. And do you know what my favourite curry is?
What?
A Chinese curry. And
No.
I've been
That's
told there's
controversial.
no such thing as a Chinese
Oh, there
curry.
is. In the north of England, there's
Of course
definitely a
there
Chinese
is.
curry.
Of course there is.
Yeah.
I've never heard of that my entire life.
Chinese
also-
curry.
Never heard of a Chinese
And also in
curry.
Yorkshire, Chinese curry sauce on chips. When
That's
you go to the
correct.
fish shop.
I've never heard of it.
Correct.
Curry,
It's a thing.
Curry and chips, yeah, no, that's a
As a
thing.
matter of
all
fact,
about
I
that,
prefer Chinese curry to an Indian curry.
I'm going to have to give it a go. I have to find somewhere that does Chinese
is really
curry
yummy.
now.
It is really good.
There
That
you
is
go.
yummy.
Learn something
But no,
every day.
I think a roast is one of the best things about a Sunday. I've got it down to a fine art. I make roasts very often, most weeks I'd say. I can do it about a 2.5-hour window.
Oh, that's a
So
lot
you
of
know what?
time.
It's all about the timings,
Yes,
guys. Got
it is
the
about the
timings
timings.
down.
But see, I think you have to really enjoy cooking. So I wouldn't cook for 2.5
but
hours.
I
40
absolutely
minutes
don't.
max
Cooking,
for
though.
me.
I despise cooking, but
Yeah.
the only thing I will do is a roast once a year.
Fair enough. Fair
You know what
enough.
I despise? The amount of cooking programmes on the telly
Yes.
So
on a
many.
Saturday
Yes.
and Sunday. You sit on a Saturday morning, I think it's Saturday, whatever it is, and you're trying to watch something normal. Channel 4, cooking. ITV, cooking. BBC 2, cooking. BBC 1, cooking. What is the blooming
Well, that's
point?
why you should be on GB News watching me. Morning Live.
That's where I end up.
That's where you've been going
We
wrong.
need to get you a little kitchen in here, actually. That
Yeah,
could be
we
quite
offer an
entertaining.
alternative, although if I had my way, we'd be cooking as well.
Right, so what do we talk about now? Holidays from hell and taking time off school. Right, Nikki, so last time round, we've been talking about this in the programme, and parents now see it as a right, almost. The way a Sunday roast is not traditional anymore on a Sunday. Staying at school during term time seems to be, we'll do what we want, we'll take time off whenever we want, whenever it suits us.
And it's actually particularly bad amongst middle-class parents that can afford the fines and just think, well, they won't learn anything on Friday anyway, we'll just jet off to Saint-Tropez or something, and they'll have a much more educational time there. I do think there's a real class element to this discussion about kids off school, because if it's working-class children, then they're being neglected and they're not being parented properly.
Yes, yes.
And if they're middle class, it's just because, well, they fancy a different kind of holiday and they want to save money, outside of term time. I think for children, the important thing about going to school is the routine, because actually when you grow up, you're going to have a job and you're probably going to be stuck in a routine. And if you don't learn to stick with the routine with your kids, you won't be able to do it as an adult.
What they should do and how they should be penalised is not money. Money's not making the difference.
I agree.
It's deducting points off their exam results at the end. So if you go on holiday, you miss these days, whatever you miss, you'll get 5 points taken off per day. And whatever.
Can I defend the parents here? Because I got taken out of school regularly for holidays.
It shows, Alex.
It probably does, actually, in many ways. I think last week I was talking about cows, and Eamonn corrected me, saying, no, that's females, not males. So maybe I did miss out a little bit of schooling.
Really missed that week at school.
But I have to defend some parents because it is hard. It is hard to go away with your kids, and when you do get to go away, the prices are incredibly
Life's hard.
high.
Life's hard.
I know, but
School.
I get to go on holiday whenever I want as an adult. But as a child, you can't. You're trapped in this very small window of time. And I do have sympathy for parents out there who really, genuinely can't afford it and struggle.
No sympathy. It doesn't matter if you can afford it or not.
I'm sorry, but when I was a kid, my parents got divorced, we didn't have any money, and we went caravanning, and it was great. And that's what we could afford. And then as things improved as we got older, we went on more expensive holidays.
Yeah.
It's just, you've got to live to your budget.
Never went abroad until I left school.
Yeah, really?
Yes,
I was a
absolutely.
teenager,
You may look astounded at that, but it was a thing. It just didn't happen. People just didn't fly
Back in
from
the olden
Ireland.
days,
Back in the olden days. Yeah.
But surely a lot of this is also down to the holiday companies, the airline companies that are ramping up their prices for school holidays.
Absolutely.
I mean, you are outpricing.
This may well happen, but it is not your responsibility as a parent. It is not your right to give your children holidays whenever you want. It is your right to be at school. That is what you have to do. That's the law. That's what it is.
That's true. It is the law. It is the law.
Right. That's that sorted.
Put that one to rest.
Put it in the education department.
Judge Holmes is...
What are they eating at the Olympics? Food options at the Olympic Village, and as it gets underway. I believe you get 2 boxes of condoms. What else are they providing you with?
Well, it's all gone very shishy, and apparently McDonald's has been replaced by Michelin-starred food. And actually individual nations, athletes demand different kinds of things. So it's kimchi for the Koreans, sticky rice for the Chinese delegation, and skewers, ribeye for the Japanese.
And what are we having? Michelin-star food.
Sunday roast.
Sunday roast.
See, I think porridge is the right idea, though, because it's slow release.
Absolutely.
It is, but it's not exactly
energy.
Haute cuisine, is it?
No, but you want something that's going to give you that boost of energy, don't you? Yeah. I'm not sure sticky rice would do it.
Also, we don't have enough national dishes. I mean, what else would you give?
Well, I'm happy about this. I think our Olympians should be treated to Michelin star level. I mean, they work so hard for years and years and years to get ready to compete. At least
we can do is feed them properly.
Not give them McDonald's to make them perform badly. I quite welcome this news, and I think these people are incredible at what they do, and they're literally the best in the world.
Yeah.
And they should be treated with proper food and fine dining.
It's the least we can do for them. I agree.
It's the least we can do. They don't have long careers either, so let's give them a taste of the high life.
We've got 1 minute left, and The Guardian today is reporting on a story that chimpanzees basically copy humans, or their language is very like that used by humans, the same sort of systems and things involved.
Yeah, so we've had this big misunderstanding that they're just not quite intelligent enough to communicate properly, because our understanding of communication is all through our voice. But these researchers have shown that they can really quickly communicate with each other just through rapid facial movements and hand gestures.
It's banter.
It's banter. That's what they're calling it, quick fire banter. So, but when next time you go to the zoo and you see chimpanzees talking to each other, they're doing it with micro expressions and hand gestures and all these sorts of things.
No,
incredibly.
They can talk, and I know a woman that can talk to them. Jane, who's the top
primatologist.
Just stop shouting in my ear, for goodness sake. Right, forget what I'm saying now, because everybody's shouting in my ear, for goodness sake. But anyway, I talk to a woman who can talk to animals. That's the basic thing.
Absolutely incredible.
Yeah.
Some people really know what they're doing in this stuff,
Yes.
and incredible stuff.
It is
Here's
incredible.
the weather.
Looks like things are heating up. Boxed boilers, sponsors of weather on GB News.
Hello, a very good morning to you. Welcome to the latest forecast from the Met Office for GB News. Still some showers around today, but in between the showers there'll be a bit more sunshine compared with yesterday, and as a result it will feel a little warmer as well. Certainly a sunny start for Western Scotland, Northern Ireland, North West England, North Wales. Elsewhere, some cloud, some showers already from the word go. There'll be a few more developing through the morning and early afternoon. The odd sharp downpour. Otherwise, not everyone will see a shower. Away from them, with the sunshine feeling pleasant, with highs of 23 to 25 in the south, 18 to 22 further north. Then later in the day, the showers will tend to fade away. We're going to see a ridge of higher pressure build from the southwest, and that will allow plenty of evening sunshine across southern and southwestern parts of the UK. Temperatures during 5-6 p.m. up into the high teens, low 20s, feeling very pleasant out there, and most of the showers by this stage easing away. So for the vast majority, it is a fine end to the day. Western Scotland looking beautiful actually at this stage, with highs of 15 to 18 Celsius. And we'll see clearing skies develop more widely overnight, although there will still be some patchy cloud, particularly for Northern Ireland, Western Scotland, for example. The vast majority will stay dry overnight, however, and whether you've got the clear spells or the cloud, well, it's going to be a relatively mild night with temperatures in the mid-teens in the south, 11 to 13 further north. So we start Wednesday with plenty of dry and bright weather, long spells of sunshine for many central, southern and eastern parts of the UK. I think there'll be some showers pushing into western Scotland for a time, and there'll also be some showers developing across eastern parts of England, some heavy downpours by the afternoon here, but for many it will stay dry, and where we get the sunshine, warm once again, 25 or 26 Celsius. Make the most of it, because Thursday sees more rain arrive.
A brighter outlook with Box Solar.
The latest GB News travel.
Good morning, I'm Russell Holding. In the Highland, the A949 is closed each way between Spinningdale and Bonner Bridge after an accident. On the M6 in Greater Manchester, there's a lane closed northbound where a lorry's broken down between junctions 25 and 26 towards the M58, causing delays. On the M56 in Cheshire, there's a lane closed eastbound after an accident between junctions 14 and 12 towards Runcorn. Trains have been stopped between Lincoln Central and Nottingham because of an incident. In Staffordshire on the A50, the westbound exit to the A5007 at Longton's closed because of a shed load, taking 20 minutes in the queues. In the West Midlands, the A41 is closed southbound along Soho Hill into Birmingham at Hockley for an investigation. On the A1M in Hertfordshire, the southbound exit at junction 4 in Welwyn Garden City is partly blocked by a breakdown, and in London on the North Circular, there's a lane closed westbound for repairs just after Bounds Green Road, causing queues from the A10 at Edmonton.
You can stay up to date throughout the day by visiting our website gbnews.com.
£30,000 in cash has to be won. It's our biggest cash prize so far, and it could be yours. Charles was a winner. Listen to what he says about winning the Great British Giveaway.
I'm Charles. I won £18,000 cash. It was just amazing, and as soon as it goes into your bank account, it just changed. It's a life-changing thing.
The next big winner could be you, with an extra £30,000 cash in your bank. For another chance to win £30,000 in tax-free cash, Text CASH to 63232. Text costs £2 plus one standard network rate message. You can enter online at gbnews.com/win. Entries cost £2. Or post your name and number to GB07 PO Box 8690 Derby DE1 9TT. UK only. Entrance must be 18 or over. Lines close at 5 p.m. on the 30th of August. Please check the closing time if listening or watching on demand. Good luck.
Join me, Neil Oliver, every Sunday night at 6 p.m. on GB News. And if an hour is not nearly enough for you, go to gbnews.com for special extended episodes online every Friday at 9 p.m, where we can truly get into the nitty-gritty of what's going on. GB News, Britain's news channel.
Join me, Nana Akwe, for an informative, interactive news programme with a difference. It's fun.
It's true. You're not wrong. No one will be cancelled. Lovely.
Join me from 3 p.m. every weekend, only on GB News, Britain's news channel.
We're proud to be GB News, the People's Channel. And as you know, we always love to hear your views. Now, there's a new way of getting in touch with us at gbnews.com/yoursay. By commenting, you can be part of a live conversation and join our GB News community. You can even talk to me, Bev Turner, or any of the members of the GB News family.
Good morning. Kamala Harris dominates the campaign trail.
She clinches enough delegates now to earn her party's nomination, which is yet to come.
Attention now turns to who she'll pick as her running mate.
In domestic politics, Conservatives are preparing for a 3-month leadership battle as the contest to replace Rishi Sunak gets underway.
Prince Harry congratulates Birmingham as the city is confirmed to host the Invictus Games in 3 years' time.
And Andy Murray has announced his intention to retire from tennis after the Paris Olympics.
A few showers around today, but actually plenty of sunshine in between the downpours. It's going to feel a bit warmer as well. I'll have the full forecast coming up very soon.
The time, 9 o'clock. A very good morning to you. I'm Eamonn Holmes.
I'm Ellie Costello, and this is GB News Breakfast. Loads of you getting in touch on Sunday roasts. Apparently, people aren't having them anymore. Or if you are having them, you're having them in the pub. Or people are going for alternatives like fish and chips. But not Susan. Susan says, Ellie...
Sunday, let's have some fish and chips. No. Tea time, maybe, but not lunchtime.
It's sacrilege.
No.
Susan says, Ellie, as you know, a Sunday roast is still cooked in our house. She invited Ben and I, actually, on Saturday morning. And we didn't make it on Sunday, but I'm sure it's delicious. Sue Ryder says, we have a Sunday roast at the weekend. We do a huge chicken in the air fryer, which I've never heard of before.
Yes,
roast potatoes done in the air fryer too. Veg on the hob, done in 1 hour, 10 minutes. Bish, bash, bosh,
yes.
Says.
Whereas Alan will tell you that normally a leg of lamb would be slow cooked and that would take 5 hours.
Oh,
so that's a big difference there, isn't it?
Yeah.
Roasting joint leftovers can be sliced and frozen in small packets for lunches, sandwiches, curries, etc. But it's a big effort. It's a big effort. There's a lot of preparation. There's a lot of washing up to do.
I think worth every minute of the effort and prep, for sure. Davina says, never drop the Sunday roast. It's the law. I now live in Dubai and I still have a Sunday roast every week, and there are loads of restaurants offering them out here as well.
OK, very good. Let's get into politics now. The new Conservative Party leader is going to be announced. This is going to happen on the 2nd of November. Nominations open tomorrow.
Well, this morning we're going to be hearing that everybody from James Cleverly to Suella Braverman are gearing up to announce their leadership campaigns. We're actually going to be speaking to James Cleverly in the next few minutes, aren't we? But who is in with a shot and who's dreaming? Well, joining us now is former Minister for Immigration, Kevin Foster. And how many names do you reckon are actually going to be put forward in this, Kevin?
Well, inevitably having 10 nominations needed in a parliamentary party of 121 people does mean that the number of candidates will be relatively limited. I'd have thought we'll probably see about 6 or 7 people emerge, but as has already been said, that'll then be cut down to 4 fairly quickly to ensure that over the summer, MPs are out engaging with the party members, with the media. It's very clear who the 4 who could go on to be the next leader are.
We're looking at a 4-month campaign win here. How damaging do you think that could be to the Tory party that needs to shake this image of being chaotic and being divided? They're not looking very united if you haven't got a new leader till November.
Well, I think the first thing we have to say is, remember, we're electing now a leader of the opposition who realistically is not going to be Prime Minister until at least 2028 or even 2029. In reality, if Labour were behind in the polls, it would be 2029, the election, unlike the last contest where you were going to be Prime Minister the day you got in. A lot would depend on how the candidates relate to each other. And I think what a lot of members in particular will be looking for is a candidate that wants to unite, not divide. If any candidate thinks a lot of negative attacks or spats in the media, you know, one or two of the ones we've seen already, I don't think have done either of the candidates involved in that any favours in terms of their campaigns. I think people are looking to see who's got a positive agenda for the party in terms of reform and restructuring what is clearly a party that needs to change, and also then our policy in terms of, you know, what are we actually going to offer out to the country, because there were just too many groups under 40, those concerned with immigration, who just did not believe we had a strong offer to them at the last election.
Kevin, stay with us. We're going to hear from your former Home Secretary, James Cleverly. Let's go and join him this morning. We say hello. Good morning to you, Mr. Cleverly.
Good morning, Eamonn. Good to talk to you today.
Good. And will we be seeing your name on that list tomorrow for Conservative Party leader?
Well, I've always believed that you should do the jobs that you need to do in the order that you need to do them. So nominations open tomorrow. So thoughts and activities about the leadership of the party, in my mind, start tomorrow. Today's work is about making sure that I discharge my duty as the Shadow Home Secretary. I'll be at the dispatch box later on today, holding the new Home Secretary to account for the appalling early decisions that she and her government has made, particularly on immigration-related issues, where they have got off to a really terrible start.
Well, let's talk about that in detail. Incidentally, I'm taking your first answer as a yes. We'll be seeing you on that list tomorrow. But anyway, let's talk about immigration. I tell you what's worrying me, James. These situations that are coming out of Ireland at the moment, these protests and the rebellion there is basically to what the Irish government has done there in welcoming in so many immigrants, illegal immigrants, we're talking here, changing life for so many people. Do you know what I think? I think we're not far away from it in this country, that people here are just, they're going to rebel against this at some stage.
Well, when I stepped in as Home Secretary, I recognised that migration was far too high, and I took action. And I put a series of restrictions in place for visas to bring down that volume of net migration, which was the biggest contributor to migration figures. Labour Party very much opposed them at the time, but when the immigration figures come out in the near future, I think we will see that the actions I took have pretty much halved 48% reduction in the volume of visa applications. So I took action because I know that the UK is a warm, welcoming, generous country, but generosity cannot be abused, and it is certainly not infinite. And I want to make sure that we maintain good relations in the UK. And that requires us to take firm but fair action. I did that when I was Home Secretary, and I'm really worried that the Labour Party will get blown off course by the voices within their own movement who basically want to scrap border controls, which will have, I think, a real negative impact on many parts of the UK and put real pressure on our internal relationships. I want to make sure they don't do that, but unfortunately, it looks as if that's the direction that they're drifting.
You're talking about holding the Labour Party to account, but Yvette Cooper is not happy with your record. She's saying that £700 million has been spent on the Rwanda scheme that has obviously never taken off. Those flights never got off the ground. In fact, Rishi Sunak calling an election 3 weeks before those flights were even set to take off, which was actually meant to be this week, didn't even give it a chance. She says 1,000 civil servants have been working on this plan. It's a huge waste, isn't it, of money and resources?
Well, the figures that the Home Secretary used at the dispatch box yesterday were nonsense. And the problem that she's got, she seems to forget that it was only a few weeks ago that I was the Home Secretary. So I know exactly how much money has been spent on Rwanda. And at the point that the election was called, it was just shy of 300 million, 700 million figure, complete nonsense. The fact is that controlling our borders is never free, and the cost of inaction will be considerably higher. We know that there was a backlog of people attempting to come to the UK on the French beaches. We've seen 2,000 arrivals since the Labour Party took office. We've seen fatalities in the Channel, both this week and last week, tragic fatalities in the Channel. We know that there were people waiting for a Labour government. A quote in the Telegraph from a potential illegal migrant saying they were praying for a Labour government because they'd heard that the Labour government was going to scrap the Rwanda agreement. And worst, I think perhaps the worst decision, to compound all the other errors that they've made since taking office, is they announced to the media that they were tearing up the bilateral agreement with Rwanda, and didn't even bother to contact the Rwandan government directly to let them know. And that is a level of discourtesy which is grossly inappropriate of a government. And I have no doubt that they would not have acted in such an arrogant and high-handed manner if that agreement had been with a European country.
Can I ask you about a story in the papers today from Nigel Farage, actually, and the Reform Party? He's expecting many more defections from the Tory party to reform. We now know that the Tory leadership campaign is going to be in full swing. We'll find out more about that in November. But how many defections could you be expecting in the next few weeks?
Look, I'm not going to go on television and talk about other political parties. My job is to focus on the government. That is my role as Shadow Home Secretary. I'll be at the dispatch box today talking about the Labour government's failures in the Home Affairs portfolio, and I'm certainly not going to amplify the press lines of other political parties.
Yes, but if you're going to be running for Tory leader tomorrow, which we expect that you will want to unite your party, won't you, after a really difficult few years? And defections to reform is the last thing that you will want to see, surely.
Well, whoever becomes leader of the party, of course, has got to unite the party, got to attract back voters who drifted off to vote Labour or Reform or Lib Dem or indeed stayed at home. That is an important function. But as I say, what I'm not going to do, and I don't think any of my colleagues would want to do either, is to give more airtime to somebody who has made it absolutely clear they want to damage the party that I am a member of. So I am not going to amplify other people's attack lines against my party. What I am going to do is focus on holding this government to account for the appalling start to their time in office in the Home Affairs portfolio.
OK. Thank you very much for your time this morning, Shadow Home Secretary. Have a busy day tomorrow. We might be talking to you then. Thank you very much indeed. That's James Cleverly there. And Kevin Foster's with us in the studio, and as a former immigration minister, it's interesting his anger at this whole way that Labour have stepped in with the whole schemes that are going on or not now going on.
Well, it is. You know, we're at the start of the period, which is the prime time for crossings of the Channel. You know, good weather over summer. And Labour, the new government's kicked it off by getting rid of the third country deal we had with Rwanda, so potential deterrent to crossing, and by, as we've seen in the media today, that they're going to rapidly process, i.e. rubber stamp, a very large number of asylum claims. Both of those will be clear messages to those thinking of crossing this summer. In short, it's going to be a pretty busy summer if you're in a people smuggling gang.
What do you make of the situation in Ireland? What's going on there, Philip?
It's concerning. You know, we're seeing communities that are, you know, of course, Ireland traditionally defined by migration away, now having a very strong debate about migration into Ireland, who feel their services are under pressure, suddenly seeing large numbers arriving. And actually, it's not just, reminds us, it's not just the UK having this discussion, it's Ireland, it's Italy, and as I saw for myself a couple of years back, Greece as well, that had to have a big discussion when there was the migration crisis 6-7 years ago.
It'll be interesting to see how things develop over the next months and years. Kevin, good talking to you. Thank you very much indeed. We'll see you again soon. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Now, some good news this morning. There's still plenty of time to grab your chance to win £30,000 in the Great British Giveaway. It's actually our biggest cash prize of the year so far.
And hope it goes to you. Here we go.
£30,000 in cash has to be won. It's our biggest cash prize so far, and it could be yours. Charles was a winner. Listen to what he says about winning the Great British Giveaway.
I'm Charles. I'm on £18,000 cash. It was just amazing, and as soon as it goes into your bank account, it just changed. It's a life-changing thing.
The next big winner could be you, with an extra £30,000 cash in your bank. For another chance to win £30,000 in tax-free cash, text cash to 63232. Text costs £2 plus one standard network rate message. You can enter online at gbnews.com/win. Entries cost £2. Or post your name and number to GB07 PO Box 8690 Derby DE1 9TT. UK only. Entrance must be 18 or over. Lines close at 5 p.m. on the 30th of August. Please check the closing time if listening or watching on demand. Good luck.
If you're entering, good luck on that. Still to come, Miriam, Kate, Ben, Leo, they're going to tell you what's coming up in Britain's newsroom at 9:30. Looking forward to that after this.
Good afternoon, Britain.
Your lunchtime update on the stories that matter across the UK.
From breaking news and insightful analysis, inspiring stories and lively debates. You're comparing yourself to a former Prime Minister.
Which is it? Stay informed, stay updated, stay entertained.
I just don't know how anyone would not want to be there.
Every weekday from midday.
We are Good Afternoon Britain, only on GB News.
Britain's news channel.
Join me, Camilla Tominey, for a frank and honest discussion with those in power that cuts through the spin and gets to the heart of the issues shaping our nation.
You haven't confirmed that you want to stand as leader, but you haven't ruled it out either.
This report basically says that he's not fit to stand trial. Is he indecisive? Incompetent? I deliver the dose of reality Westminster needs. That's the Camilla Tominey Show at 9:30 every Sunday on GB News, the People's Channel, Britain's news channel.
This is GB News, Britain's news channel.
When you think of the latest culinary trends, it might not be prawn cocktail, toad in the hole, or a jam roly-poly that springs to mind. But it's not for Gen Z or Gen Z TikTokers who are determined to make a comeback for these British classics. Now, 2/3 of Gen Z now rely on TikTok for cooking ideas. So is it time for the revival of the best of British dishes? Restaurant critic William Sitwell, good to see you this morning. For us, these things never went out of style. They've always been eating the prawn cocktail, the toad in the hole, the cottage pies. It's the best kind of food.
I think the main thing is in terms of trends. We've seen this for not decades, but literally centuries. The trends in food publishing, and it doesn't matter if it's on digital in a book, always goes. The swing is from complicated, modern, faddy to traditional, simple, and so on. So there's been this thing in publishing for literally centuries where you go from, for example, Jamie Oliver's sort of 15 7-minute, is it 3-minute meals, to the next trend, which is that's too simple. We need to take time and we need to get back to traditional food. The other thing is, and I think, if you are a food faddist, if you're obsessed with fermented cabbage and putting kimchi on everything, then you might have missed out on some of these wonderful traditions. Good food exists because it nourishes the soul. Good traditional recipes, British recipes, are not impossible to cook. So even the loonies on TikTok, I'm so glad I'm as ignorant as TikTok as you guys are of kimchi.
Yeah, and William, actually, this kind of food is so satiating, full of nutrients. I was saying to Ellie off air, our grandparents lived on this stuff, meat, potatoes and veg. It was quite simple.
The People's Channel.
thanks for your comments on so many subjects this morning. Thanks for taking part and getting involved and giving us things to talk about. Landlords, bad landlords in particular. Amanda says the worst landlords tend to be the richest. Yeah. My landlady of 24 years has been fabulous, though. My neighbour's house, which is rented, is owned by a millionaire who will only pay for a new window when the last rotted one is beyond repair. Oh. I think that's quite standard, that, I would say.
Yeah, I would say so too. There's a lot of greed, isn't there? But not all the time, and Ruth says that, not all landlords are like this. We're a landlord and we're responsible and we want our tenants to be comfortable. We keep all of our properties in the same order that we would live in ourselves, well maintained, and we have a good relationship with our tenants. Yeah. Laura says, about all those private landlords, before talking about greediness, it's better to look at all the costs. It's so expensive to be a private landlord. Very expensive to pay.
Yeah, and I'm sure there are very, very good ones too. But also just people who are just in for a fast buck is incredible. Yeah. Luke says, my daughter lives in a council flat in London, which is rented out privately. Now, this is a habit that happens. Somebody gets the council flat and they then rent it out.
Like sublet.
Correct, which is illegal, obviously. Yes. She earns £25,000 a year. She pays £1,200 in rent. So that's more than half her salary goes on rent alone, which she shares. She shares this flat with two others. Horrendous situation.
Yeah,
I really do feel for you. It's awful. But, you know, then I often think, why live in London? Why? Get out of London. Yeah. London, I mean, just people on top of you. Expense beyond belief. You know?
Thousands of pounds for a bedroom.
Yeah.
In most cases.
That's what it is.
Awful, isn't it?
What would you pay to see Ben and Miriam today on their show from
Lots of money.
9:30? What would that be worth?
Lots of money.
So, Britain's Newsroom from 9:30. Good morning to both of you.
You couldn't afford us.
Morning to you both.
Lots going on today, of course, America again and the drama over there. However, one thing that really got us on our hind legs this morning was this rise in the violence against women being blamed on the likes of influencers such as Andrew Tate. We both found out that we think it's nonsense, and actually the bigger problem is, Miriam?
Online pornography, the massive rise in the number of kids, particularly young boys, seeing very violent, extreme
Can
material.
I ask you something?
Yeah.
Where do you get this pornography?
Online.
If I hear again people talking about you're inundated with pornography, there must be a lock on my phone or something. I don't get pornography sent to me.
I hate to break it to you, Eamonn, but actually these algorithms target people by age. And shall we say they target people of significantly younger age than any of us sitting around this table. So if you were to go on Twitter, for example, where I think 44% of kids find their pornography, and if you sign on as a 50-year-old adult, you might get National Trust adverts. If you sign on as a 17-year-old boy, you'll get very, very different material.
See, I didn't know that.
It's all down to these algorithms that lead people down rabbit holes into more and more extreme material, and we think that's had far more influence on young boys.
So would you attack the tech companies,
social media companies,
for providing this? They should do something about this.
Well, certainly in the offline world, you wouldn't allow a video company or a cinema to broadcast, so why should the likes of Twitter and Instagram and other companies be allowed to broadcast it? But we'll be discussing this in more detail later, so please tune in.
You have 10, 11, 12-year-old boys at school sharing some of the most extreme... I'm not just talking about old-school porn mags that used to be quite tame compared to today's stuff going around, but really nasty, hardcore porn, which is polluting their minds. I mean, their minds aren't even formed yet, you know. Anyway, elsewhere, we have a report from the DWP yesterday saying that, get this, 1 in 5 Brits are now classed as, quote, low integrity, and that's down
We were talking about this earlier.
Yeah. Definitely. You know, if nothing else, if you've no influence in life, I always have this saying, and I try to live by it, which is do the right thing.
Yes.
And that mightn't always be the right thing, but if you believe it's the right thing, then you're probably a half-decent person to do that.
Yeah.
But I do agree with this. We do all this, be kind to people, be helpful. People are lovely. People aren't lovely. And by the time we all said it, people aren't lovely. They aren't.
Right, and a lot of people will cheat if they think they can't be caught. And obviously we now have a lot more technology to catch people.
What, cheat in relationships?
No, I mean in fraud. Well,
okay.
Who knows? I don't know. But in terms of financial, I think what the government is implying is that there's been an increase in the number of people who are willing to cheat the system. Is that related to COVID? There seems to be a spike since COVID. And if so, is that related to wider problems in society? We'll be asking that later as well.
Yeah, really interesting. We had a story in our show today about hygiene and that people aren't buying soap, toothpaste,
Oh my gosh.
shampoo. So it's just this
There are certain
lack
people,
of standard
there's
in
certain
society.
people, where do you hear this, who smell of fish.
Yeah.
They smell of fish. That is
On purpose.
No, not
Yeah,
on
it's a
purpose.
real thing.
What's it called? A
Fish odour syndrome.
Now, you
somebody's
had
telling
this
us.
for a while, hadn't you? No, you didn't know. What is it that you...
Too many kippers for breakfast.
No, we had a viewer saying that fish odour system is a thing. Okay.
And it is a thing. You've looked it up.
Yeah.
And it is, and you can't cure it.
You can't cure it.
Not that you can't cure it, but they can't cure it.
No, it's something that can't be cured, no.
This is a real thing, though. The amount of times I've really been conscious of it in recent months, the amount of taxis and so on I've got into, and I'm just going to be honest, the drivers, they stink. The taxis stink. It's horrible.
I can relate to that.
I just feel like saying, you can have a shower or something.
But, mister, I'll tell you, I'm old enough to remember when they used to smoke in taxis. You used to get a taxi picking you up at 4 o'clock in the morning, full of smoke. They'd be sitting smoking all night.
And maybe the smoke masked the other smells.
Maybe it did. But that is the thing, Miriam. There are certain smelly people in the world. And the thing is, do you tell them? Do you tell them you are smelly? Or do you not?
This is a good question. It's like, as a woman, should you tell another woman that she has lipstick on her teeth, even if you don't know her? Yes, you should. But it's quite an embarrassing thing to do.
It's the right thing to do. Someone's got a label sticking out.
Yeah.
Well, look, you two have a
Tell
sticking
them.
out programme from 9:30. Very much nice to see you here.
Thank you very
You
much.
were very good yesterday, Miriam.
Yes.
Appreciate the encouragement.
And
You were a
it's
hit.
great having him beside you.
Yes,
He
he's
is superb.
Yeah, you're a
He is
great
very
duo.
good.
Tell you who else is a good duo.
I'm here tomorrow.
And Anne Diamond. And they're on tomorrow.
Tomorrow. See you then.
Yeah.
Bye.
Looks like things are heating up. Boxed boilers, sponsors of weather on GB News.
Hello, a very good morning to you. Welcome to the latest forecast from the Met Office for GB News. Still some showers around today, but in between the showers there'll be a bit more sunshine compared with yesterday, and as a result it will feel a little warmer as well. Certainly a sunny start for Western Scotland, Northern Ireland, North West England, North Wales. Elsewhere, some cloud, some showers already from the word go. There'll be a few more developing through the morning and early afternoon. The odd sharp downpour. Otherwise, not everyone will see a shower. Away from them, with the sunshine feeling pleasant, with highs of 23 to 25 in the south, 18 to 22 further north. Then later in the day, the showers will tend to fade away. We're going to see a ridge of higher pressure build from the southwest, and that will allow plenty of evening sunshine across southern and southwestern parts of the UK. Temperatures during 6 p.m. up into the high teens, low 20s, feeling very pleasant out there, and most of the showers by this stage easing away. So for the vast majority, it is a fine end to the day. Western Scotland looking beautiful actually at this stage, with highs of 15 to 18 Celsius. And we'll see clearing skies develop more widely overnight, although there will still be some patchy cloud, particularly for Northern Ireland, Western Scotland, for example. The vast majority will stay dry overnight, however, and whether you've got the clear spells or the cloud, well, it's going to be a relatively mild night with temperatures in the mid-teens in the south, 11 to 13 further north. So we start Wednesday with plenty of dry and bright weather, long spells of sunshine for many central, southern and eastern parts of the UK. I think there'll be some showers pushing into Western Scotland for a time, and there'll also be some showers developing across eastern parts of England, some heavy downpours by the afternoon here, but for many it will stay dry, and where we get the sunshine, warm once again, 25 or 26 Celsius. Make the most of it because Thursday sees more rain arrive.
A brighter outlook with Box Solar, sponsors of weather on GB News.
The latest GB News travel.
Good morning, I'm Russell Holding. In the Highland, the A949 is closed each way between Spinningsdown and Bonner Bridge after an accident yesterday afternoon. On the M62 in West Yorkshire, there's a lane closed eastbound where someone's broken down between junctions 26 and 27 from Chain Bar to Gildersham. On the M6 in Greater Manchester, there's a lane closed northbound where a lorry's broken down between junctions 25 and 26 towards the M58. Train services are suspended between Lincoln Central and Nottingham because of an incident. In Staffordshire on the A50, the westbound exit to the A5007 at Longton's closed because of a shed load causing queues. The A1M in Hertfordshire, the southbound exit at junction 4 for the A414 at Welwyn Garden City is partly blocked by a breakdown causing delays. And on the M3 in Hampshire, there's a lane closed northbound after an accident between junctions 13 and 12 from Chandler's Ford